our group.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
MMO number 232 is coming at you live. Today is August 18th, 2026, and from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Guerin.
And from America's South Coast, where we're ready to go, I'm John G. Dew.
We're ready to go. Woo! Go team. Let's get it on.
Go team. It's football season, almost.
Almost, yeah.
Yes,
I've been about 3 different group chats surrounding fantasy football drafts, which I've gotten suckered into. A friend's one. I used to enjoy it when I was in my friend's one, but then a family one as well. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of fantasy football anymore. I don't actually watch the NFL, but college football is great.
I recently saw someone describe fantasy football as one thing, but then, of course, I have a better way to put it, and it's kind of accurate. I enjoy doing something with my friends from college, and that's that thing. And anybody can win fantasy football. It doesn't really take a genius, and anybody who takes real pride in fantasy football should probably reevaluate. But I think funny name for it is kind of poverty Pokemon.
Poverty Pokemon.
Yeah,
dads who
not that Pokemon is the most affluent hobby either, or not hobby, but time waster. But it's more hip. I don't know. I'm sure fantasy football is still plenty popular among the college-aged folks, but I don't know. I just don't see nearly as much talk about it anymore, probably because I'm not college-aged anymore.
It's fair. It's fair. If you were, you might be dealing in substances that we wouldn't have been back in the day.
That's right. And you could get busted. I'm sure you saw the Penn State
ski team
story.
Yeah.
The ski team. Yes, the Penn State ski team.
That's right. I got a little clip right here to give it a rundown, just to get into it.
More than a dozen current and former students at Penn State University and one of their parents could be charged in a massive cocaine bust. Pennsylvania's Attorney General says these former students were the operation's main suppliers and allegedly used fraternity pledges to help package the coke for distribution. CBS News correspondent Meg Oliver reports on the alleged operation that covered a wide area of the Northeast.
Large amounts of cocaine, kilos, were brought from Philadelphia and New York to State College.
The Pennsylvania Attorney General on Monday identified former Penn State students Agostino Abatiello and Thomas Robinson as the alleged leaders of a drug trafficking operation between 2023 and 2024. According to a probable cause affidavit, police first made the bust after recruiting informants to buy cocaine from their dealers. Now, 13 current and former students are charged in connection with the ring, as is Robinson's father, Paul, who allegedly tried to conceal evidence from investigators. Prosecutors say 2 off-campus fraternities appeared to be hubs for the operation: Sigma Chi, where Abatiello was a brother, and Delta Upsilon, where Robinson was a brother.
Oh my gosh. We're cross-fraternity organizations of cocaine trafficking.
Join or die.
Jeez.
And bagging cocaine.
Join or die.
Was for some pledges and indoctrination into the Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi fraternities.
According to grand jury testimony from one of Abatiello's alleged business partners, he was purchasing around 100 grams of cocaine from his source in New York every 3 to 6 weeks. In a statement, Penn State said in part, criminal activity such as this has no place at our institution.
For students who think about going to college, being away from home for the first time, and having an opportunity to kind of do what they want, they need to understand that there are always going to be ramifications for your actions.
Penn State says Sigma Chi is not formally recognized
What, is
as
she
a
at the
fraternity, and they
processing plant?
suspended Delta Epsilon pending an investigation.
I don't
An
know.
attorney for Agostino Abatiello declined to comment, and we reached out to Thomas and Paul Robinson for a comment, but we have not heard back. Errol?
Just a fascinating case. Meg, thank you very much.
Fascinating indeed. Did you see the?
So we got some numbers in there.
I just
And I like it when they use numbers.
so do I. I looked up the value
Because as someone who has seen this kind of activity, as someone, if you've been to college and you're not, completely serious about your degree, you see this kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's kind of, everybody acts like this is very casual. But the numbers they threw out were, what was it? Was it 100?
100 grams every 3 weeks.
100 grams every 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's like
And then
$20,000.
earlier they had said kilos. Well, 100 grams is about 3.5 ounces, if my math is correct.
Right.
And there are 35 ounces in a kilo. So, and roughly, it's like 35.27 according to my calculator here. It would have taken them quite a while to be moving, quote unquote, kilos.
Bricks. It's just amazing.
This tells me Penn State really doesn't have much of a problem.
Well, the $20,000 a week on cocaine is interesting. It's a lot of money. So the business must have been pretty good. Especially
now, wait a
when
minute.
you're unpaid pledged labor.
100
100
for 3
grams.
weeks. That's 33 grams and $20,000
Per 100 grams.
divided by.
Assuming $200 per gram. I might be way off on my prices. I am not a big drug purchaser.
Well, your math comes out to $600 per gram if you're going with every 3 weeks. I don't think there are kids paying that.
Look at this. How much is cocaine? Here's a link, southernshorerecovery.com. How much is cocaine 2026
Why are they
street prices?
pricing it on Southern Shore Recovery?
Because you got to get the people in rehab.
You're paying
rehooked.
too much, guy.
Yeah, exactly. So cocaine prices vary from $60 to $200 per gram. I took the upper echelon of that. So if they're moving 100 grams, that's $20,000. If they're getting good stuff, let's assume that it's bad stuff. $10,000.
Considering that they said 2 of the college students were the suppliers, I doubt it.
You don't think it was? You think the pledges were also? They also had baking soda.
Yes, and things like that. Yes.
Oh man, make sure you cut it. Oh yeah, I'll tell Chadbo to cut it. Hey Chadbo, you're cutting this, right?
Oh,
Wild times.
well, yeah. I thought that was a funny story too.
Did you see that Agostino? His nickname on Twitter is was it Pablo Pledge Scabar?
Pledge Scabar. Yes,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. You know, during my time at Ole Miss was the time where 60 Minutes actually got involved because a confidential informant was, I believe he was killed.
For what?
For being a confidential informant.
He was a fraternity drug dealer?
No, he was a buyer who got in trouble with the cops. So the cops put a wire on him and sent him into a dope scene that he had no business being in. Like he was just some kid in school.
Oh, I see.
And they sent him to like the next level of the suppliers to go buy drugs, and he obviously was a plant.
Man. It's a good way to get people killed is by putting wires on them and sending them into. I always assume sweaty guys. Ever since I watched Breaking Bad, I've got a very distinct image of how large-scale drug distributions go down. But
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Breaking Bad? It was an all-timer back in the day.
Yeah, it was a good show. The first time I watched it, I was like, it was like a serious drama. The second time I watched it, I go, oh, it's a dark comedy, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick up on like how actually comical the whole thing was until the second watch around. But
So I don't know that anyone actually died in the Ole Miss situation, but there were Ole Miss families on 60 Minutes talking about how they were treated by their handlers at Metro Narcotics at Ole Miss and how they were put into dangerous situations.
that'll happen.
It was a big deal. It was a really big deal. One of the girls that got arrested while I was at Ole Miss at the time was the nation's largest distributor of Xanax. Maybe not the nation's largest, but the largest bust for Xanax at the time in the nation. She held that mantle. I'm sure she doesn't anymore, but
How'd you
don't know
catch
how
me,
many
coppers? You were like the only one standing around in a stupor at a party. Yeah,
she was not the only one. There was a popular bar in Oxford that actually started making T-shirts, advocacy T-shirts against Xanax. It was so bad. There were T-shirts that actually said, brand of the bar on the front, on the frocket, and then on the back it was just bold letters, no bars at the bars.
That's a good tagline, not gonna lie. Yeah, seeing kids on Xanax at parties, you're just kind of like, I don't know why you want to do that, but go for it.
Yeah, me either. Don't quite get that one.
We were more,
but it
we
was
were more
very
alums
popular.
of the APS type of school.
Speaking of drug use, did you bring any clips about this Lindsay Clancy ordeal?
No, I saw it.
I didn't bring any clips either. I figured you didn't, so I think it'd be a good time to sort of just, for the record, discuss it.
Sure.
And I think I've got my head around the fundamentals of the timeline anyway. And I'm not going to get into what is being said on TikTok because it's an alternate reality on TikTok when it comes to the crime scene. Not a crime scene, but the crime scene, the media crime podcast,
I'm with you.
TikTok scene. Yeah, it's just a completely different reality, and it's all entertainment. It's all for clicks, and the sad thing is that people actually give it credence. But basically what happened, and I think this is instructive and reflective of our society in a lot of ways. Lindsay Clancy had her third child, and for the first time in her life, if you believe the testimony that's been presented, was feeling anxious about having to go back to work. So there's number one right there. New mother, she wants to have kids, she's had her third kid, she has to go back to work. Maybe she doesn't have to, but to some degree she's been conditioned, or it's necessary for her to feel like she has to go back to work. Well, she's feeling anxious about it.
Sunday scaries.
So she has never felt this way before, so she goes to a doctor, a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist says, well, we can give you something for the anxiety. So they give her something for the anxiety. She expresses to the psychiatrist, after hearing the symptoms of said medication, that she's feeling more anxious about the potential side effects, specifically about feeling suicidal, because she has a family to take care of. That's where the root of her anxiety was to begin with, is that she's going to be at work and not able to take care of her family. Well, obviously, if she offs herself, she won't be able to take care of her family either. So she's got this deep-seated anxiety. The psychiatrist prescribes the meds. The meds work a little bit, according to Lindsay, and the psychiatrist ends up prescribing a higher dose. The same anxiety is apparently or reportedly still there about the negative side effects. She doesn't want to have these negative side effects that can happen with these drugs. Well, somewhere along the way, she starts getting prescribed more drugs. And there's a bit of a contested narrative that she was going to other clinics to get more drugs at a certain point, and she wasn't going to other clinics just to get drugs. She was just going there out of the fear that had developed because she couldn't see her doctor at the time. Not quite sure on that front, but the fundamentals remain that she was feeling anxious about going back to work. She went to get some medication for that. She ended up getting prescribed what became a cocktail of psychiatric medication. And she began telling her family, including her husband and her mother, that she was afraid to be alone. And it even got to the point where she told them both that she was having thoughts about harming her children.
I actually
and
have
herself.
Clip Custodian sent us some clips for tonight, and one of them is the mother's testimony about Lindsay Clancy.
Okay, play it. Back me up.
Here we go.
Another day of emotional testimony in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mom who killed her 3 young children. Prosecutors arrested Monday, and the defense opened with Clancy's mother, who described a loving mom whose mind unraveled after starting psychiatric medication. The jury saw a desperate text Clancy sent her, quote, "I'm really sick. Something is wrong. I think the medicine has made things worse." Her mom says her daughter grew so paranoid and afraid she couldn't sleep alone.
She told us that she had thoughts of harming the children. She said that she couldn't remember anything. The medication was pretty much just destroying her mind, and it wasn't her. She said, "This isn't me. I just want to feel better and enjoy my kids again."
So there you have it. So what ends up happening is she tells her mom and her husband that she's having thoughts about harming the kids. She's afraid of these thoughts, and eventually she is left alone with the kids, and she takes all 3 of their lives and attempts to take her own life. And now she is, her argument in court is that basically she's not responsible for what she did while in an altered state, basically, under the influence of these medications. A psychosis is the word that's thrown around. And I think the as much fodder as there is around this, and as much argumentative content as there is around this, there's 2 things that that are worth noting. The first is the fact that she felt or actually needed to go back to work to support her family, or help support her family. Her husband worked. And the second is that she, if we make some assumptions, she trusted her psychiatrist. And if you believe the defense testimony from the mother and the framing from the defense, she never would have done this without these medications. Okay. And I have to be honest, from my perspective and my bias against pharmaceutical companies and their practices, especially in the realm of psychiatric medicine, I'm sympathetic to that, but just because you were ignorant of what could have happened and the proper precautions weren't taken when you started experiencing those side effects, because maybe your family didn't realize the extent of what could happen, it doesn't absolve anyone of responsibility. And the rhetoric around this is, quite frankly, pretty demoralizing, because at the same time, there are people using this to basically run down any and all women. There are also women basically saying, I understand you, Lindsay, which is appalling.
Yeah. Mothers.
Yeah.
Now, isn't she also the woman that initially claimed her kids died from vaccines?
I don't know. I've never heard that.
I thought that was kind of the origin of children vaccines.
I don't think so.
I thought that was it.
Because
Because
I don't think she ever claimed anything, because after she killed the kids, she slit her own wrists and her throat and jumped off of a 2-story balcony.
maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay.
I think you are.
Yeah, a different case. Okay. That was an Idaho woman, apparently, that I guess related to Lindsay Clancy, and that she killed her kids.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's really a tragedy, but it's also a microcosm of American society, too. Or at least a microcosm of the way that the relationship between patients and the American healthcare system, especially psychiatric patients, which many are women.
They do say thoughts of suicide on all the ads on TV, which is weird because we have ads on
and
TV.
if you have, and this is the part that I can say I don't understand it, and it's a rhetorical device for me to say I don't understand it, because I fully understand where doctors and psychiatrists are coming from with prescribing medicine, and I have a very cynical take on where they're coming from. But if you have a patient, and this is just common, I'm no doctor. I'm not as smart as all the doctors out there, the psychiatrists. I'm sure that all the years of American Medical Association indoctrination has made you leagues more intelligent than I am. But if I have a patient that tells me that she's concerned about feeling or having suicidal thoughts when taking this medication, even though she doesn't have them currently, I'm not giving her that medication. Because it's pretty easy to see how someone can be predisposed to things just by listening to their existing anxieties. And she quite literally told the doctor, the psychiatrist, that I'm worried about having suicidal thoughts. That person in my world gets no psychiatric meds. If you're predisposed to worry about suicide, even though you're not suicidal, you shouldn't have anything messing with the chemistry in your brain. But like I said, I'm no psychiatrist. I'm just a podcasting dummy.
Yeah. It is sad. I don't know to what level, I wish I could know her heart, whether she did this because of the drugs or she's using the drugs as an excuse. You got to be aware when you're killing somebody. But I've never been on those drugs before. Like I said, we were talking about people on Xanax before. Those people have no idea what's going on. They're straight up zombies when you see them walking around. So I can't imagine what antipsychotic or anti-anxiety drugs are like. Isn't Xanax an anti-anxiety drug?
I'm not sure if it's traditionally anti-anxiety. It is a barbiturate, I think. So, yeah, I think it would be.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, management of
enough
anxiety.
about this. Alprazolam is an anti-anxiety medication. Yeah, so primarily anti-anxiety. Enough with the... go ahead.
I was going to say, I've had, moments when I've felt anxious. One of them being was, my best friend's rehearsal dinner. He picked a place with a very low ceiling, and there was, a bunch of people in a room, and my head was, 4 inches from the ceiling in this room. And I just remember feeling so overwhelmed by the noise that I had to excuse myself and step outside for like twice for 2 or 3 minutes just to breathe. And that was like the closest thing I've had to like an anxiety attack. But I wasn't like freaking out. And I didn't say, I need some drugs for this. What I said was, I need some fresh air. A change of environment.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've spent enough time on this, as tragic as it is. And there's plenty that we could do, deriding everyone who's using this for clicks and for fodder for discussion.
Sure.
But I'd rather not take that route. I just think it's in the forefront of a lot of people's minds, so we'd be remiss not to discuss it and not to try to present as clean of a picture as possible when so many people are getting the waters muddied by people either with a sex bias or a medical bias.
Sure. All right, well,
so
what do you think?
Enough about that. Let's talk about war.
Okay, I'm for it.
Much more happy topic is war, and we do talk about war a lot here. We're kind of tend toward war topics lately.
A geopolitic podcast with
that's right.
multi-year wars going on the entire time we're doing the podcast. I think there were no wars when we started from the podcast.
I think maybe the key to world peace is retiring the podcast.
It's possible. There's been nothing but wars.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of a joke, but we can take it to the war in Iran because that seems to be another major topic. I've also got clips about the weather, which we sort of discussed last week with a mention of El Nino, but the media coverage of extreme weather has really kicked up so far. So how are you feeling? Do you feel more like existential dread or
let's talk about the war in Iran?
Okay. So I have a couple of update clips because this has been quite fast moving the last few days. Let's see. How do I want to play this? Because I have an update, and then I named one latest because it was after the update. Let's do the ABC Local clip first. It's an Iran, just general update, ABC Local.
Perfect.
The White House this morning as President Trump is again threatening to expand the war in Iran. Trump says he will bomb a U.S. ally if it interferes with control of a critical strait in the region.
Yeah, they make it sound like it's Canada. It's Oman. Come on.
ABC's Karen Hua is in Washington with more on that.
This morning, President Trump cursing out another American ally, saying he would bomb the expletive out of Oman if the country got in the way of U.S. plans to control the Strait of Hormuz.
I don't think they behaved very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do others.
Oman had been helping to broker a deal on the strait, just as the 60-day truce with Iran officially ended on Monday, with no nuclear deal or peace talks scheduled. His threat to Oman also comes a day after he iced out another ally, Trump cutting back joint military exercises with South Korea, calling the drills, quote, totally inappropriate and hostile to an unthreatening and respectful North Korea. The president suggesting he's spoken with Kim Jong-un recently.
Kim Jong-un has always treated me with great respect.
Many Democrats are furious with the president's priorities. As Georgia Senator John Ossoff claims, Trump is too focused on the White House ballroom and traveling with aide Natalie Harp.
We're in wartime, and he retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket, to make him feel good about himself, to reassure him that he's doing a great job, to help him while he designs his new ballroom.
In response, President Trump doubled down, saying he's in no rush to end the war, while downplaying its impact on the economy.
We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of. You can look at this. This room is a disgraceful situation.
It seems like the president and vice president are not on the same page. Trump says getting rid of Iran's nuclear weapons is the top priority of the war, while Vance says the main goal is to keep oil and gas prices low. Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
That's because J.D. Vance is running for the job in a couple of years.
It appears that way. Seems that he's doing some positioning,
Right.
which unfortunately I don't have any real analysis of, but I've noticed this. He's been pinging my radar with some of his comments lately.
Yep. Various different groups and factions are highlighting him, which is always interesting to see how everyone's breaking.
Yeah, it really is. And did you see John Ossoff? I didn't really consider him much of a Democratic hopeful, and I think that's even more so now that Trump has given him a nickname. You know, Trump's nickname is like a kiss of death, where if he gives you a nickname, you're basically done. Now, whether that will hold up when Ossoff doesn't have to share a debate stage with him, I'm not sure. But did you see his nickname for Ossoff?
Yeah.
I have the little short stinger of him calling him the nickname if you want to play it.
Yep.
John Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response to John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things.
He does look like
he
Pee Wee
does.
Herman.
Yeah, a little bit.
He really does.
I bet that's
For
what.
the love of God, John Ossoff shouldn't be within 10 yards of a bow tie.
Or a porn movie theater.
Or that. Okay, let's continue with the Iran coverage. This is a new strike report from News Nation. And let's give this a little bit of framing because it's a very chaotic topic. You have the White House saying one thing. You have international news agencies saying another. You have commentators from the U.S. news saying all kinds of things. And underneath it all, you have contradictory events taking place in the Strait that are sometimes difficult, sometimes impossible to confirm because of delayed satellite imagery and other factors, especially disinformation activities on primary channels, which have just been crazy during this whole thing. But this clip is new strike on vessel, News Nation.
Iran's top negotiator is reiterating the Strait of Hormuz will be closed until the U.S. lifts its blockade and unfreezes frozen assets. It comes shortly after the country threatened to open a new offensive as a 60-day ceasefire came to an end on Monday. News Nation Washington correspondent Corey Smith joins us from the White House. Corey, Iran might be making good on that threat already.
Yeah, it appears that way, Alex. This morning, we're learning about a new attack on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Agency says an unknown projectile hit a ship today, injuring a crew member. And this happened in the southern portion of the strait, which is the area the U.S. has told commercial vehicles is safe to traverse. So really interesting development there. But this all comes as Iran shifts its military posture to fully offensive, and the White House threatens to bomb a U.S. ally. Tehran doubling down on its ability to disrupt traffic in the strait and launch attacks in the region, promising to conduct a timely and precise military attack to break the U.S. naval blockade if the United States fails to implement the failed and now expired MOU. And in a moment of candor yesterday, President Trump said he's not putting a timeline on making a deal, and the threat of higher gas prices or a bruising midterm election is not going to change his mind. He also confirmed U.S. negotiators are speaking via back channel with leaders in Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, not the political negotiators that have been doing the talking all this time. Iran denies those claims. His son-in-law and negotiator Jared Kushner tells Fox News the conversations thus far have been robust, but the two sides aren't there yet.
There's been a lot of good dialogues, which I think is very, very helpful, right? You can't make deals with each other if you don't understand each other. You have to exchange views. There's really not a lot of trust between America and Iran after all these years of not having these relations and dialogues. But obviously, they're engaging in a very strong way, and that's quite positive.
Okay, so we have Trump saying there's no discussions, Kushner saying we're having discussions, and I have a report that's going to inform some of this discrepancy. And you're not going to hear this on the mainstream news. You're probably not going to hear this many places, but you will hear it here on the Millennial Media Offensive. And this is from the National Council of Resistance of Iran Foreign Affairs Committee. And they're reporting that there are real fissures developing in the internal power structure of Iran between the IRGC and the civilian leadership. And I think this is a very public attempt to exacerbate those tensions within Iran. Just because the regime didn't collapse as quickly as Bibi Netanyahu promised Trump that it would, doesn't mean that that's not still an attainable goal that the U.S. is pursuing.
Right.
And I think we're seeing a part of that in the public realm.
According to this organization, I'll agree with you. There's a fella that, that Asian fella that talks about game theory, Professor Zhang.
Yeah, chalkboard.
Yeah, chalkboard guy, whiteboard, going through everything.
Chalkboard Shin.
He mentioned this, that is part of the grander U.S. strategy is cutting off Iran, and so they can no longer sell their oil, 90% of which they sell to China. Less so of an impact to China and more so of undercutting the regime's ability to pay the IRGC soldiers and kind of start an internal revolt like this. So that is interesting. If that is,
but it's not. It's not a matter of discontent with the IRGC. I think he makes the mistake of applying a mercenary mindset to the IRGC. And I'm sure there's some element of that. They're modern humans anyway.
Well, they're paid by the government.
Yes, they're paid. That doesn't mean that is their driving motivator. And I think he overstates pay as a motivating factor for the IRGC. I mean, they're very proud of their role as defending the Iranian regime. And I think they would do that job without pay for some time.
I haven't met any of them, so I can't say.
I haven't either. Neither has he. So you've got two people who've never met anyone in the IRGC disagreeing about what they believe. Very good. You're well informed.
Yep.
So let's continue with another News Nation clip called "Allies."
It's not in the.
That was not in there.
Yep.
No, I guess I'd never clipped it. Very good. Well, that's unfortunate. It's more talk about Oman. Spoiler. So, well, okay, we can move on. This is after the fact. I pulled this this series of Fox Business clips right before the show. This is the latest, and I'm sure there's a new latest since we've been doing the show, but this is the latest before the show started.
All right, President Trump declaring today that all mines dotting the bottom of the Strait of Hormuz have either been removed or detonated. And while so far we have seen no undersea explosions since he said that, new attacks from the air are spreading across the Middle East one day after the expiration of the Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center just confirmed 2 ships were struck by, quote, unknown projectiles just off the coast of Oman as they attempted to transit through the Strait of Hormuz. At least 1 crew member was killed. On the other side of the strategic waterway, the UAE is on high alert. The country's defense ministry says air defenses detected 2 ballistic missiles launched from Iran that were heading toward the nation. The UAE confirms 1 missile fell outside territorial waters, while the second one fell inside that zone. Iran has not claimed responsibility for either of these attacks.
Oh, it's definitely them. Come on.
Yeah, well, it's just boilerplate. They haven't confirmed. Okay. I'm sure they'll reach out to News Nation or Fox Business and say, hey, that was us, just so you know.
That was us. We did that.
Yes, that was us.
Death to America.
Okay. Sincerely. per my last email. Okay, so now after the update, the latest Fox Business, I have a full report from Fox Business.
Perfect.
But let's get right to Fox News' correspondent, Jonathan Hunt, who's live in Tel Aviv, Israel, with more on the developing headlines. I mean, Jonathan, this morning it was one ship that was hit in the strait, and now it's two.
Yeah, two ships hit, and those two missiles you mentioned directed at the UAE. So it shows that Iran is still ready and able to take offensive actions if it wishes to. The president, meantime, came out swinging this morning, as he often does, Liz, posting to Truth Social, quote, "There are no talks or conversations going on or scheduled with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The naval blockade remains in full force and effect. The Hormuz Strait is open and operating. All water mines have been removed or detonated." Now, the claim that there are no talks or conversations going on struck us as particularly interesting, given that the president's special envoy said the exact opposite in a conversation with Fox's Trey Yingst just yesterday. Listen here.
I will say that the conversations between the U.S. government and different areas of the Iranian government at all areas is probably more robust than it's maybe ever been. And so there's been a lot of good dialogues, which I think is very, very helpful.
Yeah. Jared Kush, he said nothing. He said a lot with saying nothing. He could be Kamala Harris if he wanted.
He does like Venn diagrams, I'm told.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got a bit of a report there, and the last clip in this folder that I have is a bit of talk on the actual dynamic in the strait, on the ground, or in the water, I guess I should say. So this is Strait Dynamic, Fox Business.
Now, getting back to the Hormuz Strait, the president obviously believes that the U.S. naval blockade that CENTCOM is running there is effective, and that's why he says the U.S. remains in total control of the strait, a narrative that Iranian officials again and again dispute completely. Listen here.
And let me make it clear. Until America implements its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade, on the release of frozen assets, lifting the oil sanctions, adding threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to, the strait will not be reopened.
Now, the monitoring organization Kepler reports that only 3 ships crossed the strait on Sunday. That's compared to well more than 100 that were crossing every day before the war began. And one of the problems for President Trump here, Liz, is that perception is very much reality. And clearly, the perception among shipping companies and insurers remains that it is simply too risky to attempt to transit the strait in most cases. Liz?
Yeah. The perception is interesting. There's also been a lot of social media posts of like graffiti on trucks and whatnot from U.S. soldier or from sailors and soldiers and people.
Yeah, I neglected the report on sailors. Did we have any clips about the conditions reports that the American media was so gung-ho to disclose this week?
I don't have any clips. I spoke to a fellow this weekend that was over there and sharing graffiti from inside of a bathroom, and let's just say they're under no illusion as to who they're doing this for.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the public graffiti suggests as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be the common understanding that it's the tiny hat people.
Very endearing purpose.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, you just got crispy, by the way. Crispy John, crispy chicken. Crispy bacon. Come on back.
That should be better.
Yep.
Okay. You got your markers down?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, speaking of Kushner and the region, did you hear that he spoke with Hamas this week?
I saw something about he met with a Hamas representative or something along those lines.
No, he met with all of Hamas that's left, which is the one representative.
There's two guys.
The one, yeah, the two guys.
I'm not telling you where the tunnels are.
I have a clip in the Gaza folder, Kushner, Hamas, CBS.
Oh, boy. Let's get it on.
Now jump to CBS News foreign correspondent Remy Inocencio. He's in our London bureau and has more on Jared Kushner's meeting with Hamas. Remy, good morning. How did this meeting happen exactly, and what comes next?
Sure, Errol, good to see you again. Well, according to a source with knowledge of that meeting to CBS News, this is the White House's push to keep this Gaza peace plan moving along, and despite Netanyahu's no from last week. Now, notable that after Netanyahu said no, said he wanted to reject it, we get this confirmation that Kushner's now met with Hamas and its chief negotiator, Khaled al-Hayya, along with members from Egypt, from Turkey, and Qatar, these mediators there. A reminder, though, and crucially, the Gaza peace plan would require Hamas to totally disarm and then for Israel to withdraw from the estimated 60% or so of the strip that it operates in. This is the second phase of the plan, the demilitarization after that initial ceasefire from late last year. But from Israel, there is a lot of doubt that there could ever be true total disarmament of Hamas. And Netanyahu said that Israel won't withdraw until Hamas genuinely, his word there, disarmed. So for what comes next, your second question, we'll see if Kushner does meet Netanyahu. That is apparently on track for now. And if he changes his mind, potentially. But he also has a domestic lens to look through, Errol, because Netanyahu is facing a tough election later this October. He needs the support of right-wing parties. This is one of the most far-right governments that Israel has had. And those right-wing parties, have already rejected Trump's Gaza peace plan.
Yeah, it's Israel that is being the problem, if you can believe it, in this peace negotiation.
Well, I wonder how much of this is just posturing from the Netanyahu regime, as is mentioned there.
Netanyahu, do you know how Netanyahu got his rise in Israeli politics? Like, what really set him off?
Probably calling for the annexation of Palestinian territories.
Well, the big thing was during like Clinton in the 90s, the prime minister of Israel was considering the two-state solution. Like that had come into fruition. And Netanyahu rose in politics as being the counter, the opposition to the idea of a two-state solution. And so that's kind of why when he's at the helm and everyone's talking about there needs to be a two-state solution, that's not going to fly. And so that's why these talks keep failing as well.
Well, the election's in 3 months, so you're well within the window of public posturing with no policy consequence. You know, he could say he's diametrically opposed to the peace plan, but actually just be posturing, throwing red meat to the base.
Yeah, it's possible. It is possible to get elected. We'll see.
Yeah.
Have you seen any poly markets on his odds for election?
I have not.
Nor have I. Just as soon as I was saying it, I'm typing it in. Israeli election. Oh, apparently he's slated to lose according to this poly market. And you know, if Polymarket's accurate on any election, it would be this one. Gadi Eisenkot is supposed to, has a 52.9% chance of winning over Benjamin Netanyahu. So
I'm checking Kalshi.
See if there's an arbitrage opportunity there.
Prime Minister of Israel. What's the wording of your prop?
Next Prime Minister of Israel. Who will be the next Prime Minister of Israel after the next election?
And what's Netanyahu's percentage?
He's at 28 on Polymarket.
27 on Kalshi.
Buy.
Gotti is 59 on Kalshi. What is he on
He's
Polymarket?
52 on Polymarket.
Ooh, there's an arbitrage.
Well, you got Avgdor Lieberman and Naftali Bennett.
I've got Lieberman at 4% and Bennett at 3%. And then Benny Gantz at 5% and Cohen at 5% as well. But they're listed below Lieberman and Bennett. Probably more volume.
Probably. So this is not all Israel's doing. They're not only just not making peace with Gaza, they also did something this morning that was also pretty bad. I have a Fox News report on it, and then a little rundown from I-24. Was it an I-24 clip that you had brought last week, and we said that they were owned by a Middle Eastern? Was it a different news organization than I-24?
It was different. It was Middle Eastern Eye.
Okay, because I was listening to the report from I-24, which we'll get into, and instantly I knew that they weren't owned by some other Middle Eastern country. The Middle Eastern country they're owned by was quite obvious. But here is the Fox News rundown of what Israel did this morning.
President Trump issuing a new warning to Oman, threatening to bomb the U.S. ally if it gets in the way of efforts to reach a deal with Iran and reopening the Strait of Hormuz, because they've been dealing with each other and cut us out.
Meanwhile, new strikes in Syria overnight have the region on edge.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks joins us live from Tel Aviv with the new details. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Reports indicate Israel launched strikes against a Syrian air base overnight, prompting U.S. Ambassador Tom Barrack to release a statement saying we are deeply concerned. He went on to say an unnecessary escalation that does not advance regional stability. Now, I spoke with a senior Israeli official about these reports, and they responded saying highly sensitive intelligence was shared with the United States and advanced at the most senior levels of the various agencies and bodies. This official went on to say al-Shara understands that he cannot operate like the previous Syrian regime, which maintained proxy forces. It's possible he didn't understand what was going on or didn't know. They could not provide any additional details due to the classified nature of this intelligence.
Well, Fox News got something wrong. While the airbase was located in Syria, it was not a Syrian airbase that Israel blew up. Yes. So the airbase actually belonged to...
Silly Fox News.
I know, they get it wrong all the time. The airbase actually belonged to... That's right. They're sticking their thaw in Turkey. It's a Turkish airbase that they've been rehabilitating in Syria. Because obviously, Erdogan's got a little bit of sway in Syria based on what he did for al-Shara, which is effectively weapons and send them in at the weakest point. So I pulled this I-24 clip. Again, I'm listening to this. I have no idea that I-24 is owned by somebody, which will become apparent in the second clip. But he's talking to this former Turkish ambassador to either Syria or another country. It's not entirely sure. I'm not entirely clear in the clip, but he weighs in on this issue and adds a little bit more color to what's going on here.
The Syrian state television today claiming that Israeli airstrikes hit an airbase in northwest Syria early Tuesday, causing material damage without any casualties. Israel has made no comment. But the Syrian TV reports that 8 separate strikes took out the runway in the northwestern province of Idlib, gave no further detail. War monitors in Syria added that Turkey, which is a main backer of Syria's government, has been rehabilitating the airbase, which is also a known hub for foreign fighters over the years. But the incident prompted U.S. Ambassador to Turkey and Special Envoy to Syria, Tom Barrack, to social media to say that the quote-unquote confirmed Israeli airstrikes, as he put it, are, quote, an unnecessary escalation that does not advance regional stability, close quote. And we're joined by retired Ambassador Cengiz Firat. He's the former Turkish ambassador, and good to have you with us back on the show here, Cengiz. Look, there's fears of Israel-Turkey miscalculation. We see this as least, if it's true, what's being claimed in Syrian television, what the Americans seem to be sure about, the suspected Israeli airstrikes that hit an air base in Syria. How fraught are these friction points, these friction lines between, let's say, Turkey and Israel at this point?
Well, but how can I say it? To be very diplomatic, we need to make sure that communication lines are kept open, and we always say we shouldn't go one step further. But apart from the rhetoric coming from both sides, what do we see? We see on the ground actual hits using fighter jets on another country's airbase. And this is aggressive behavior. And I agree with the U.S. ambassador's wording that he put there. This was quite reckless. This was quite near to the Turkish border. So it's a clear message coming from the Israeli side, obviously. But having said that, reading what's been delivered by both sides, we are upping the ante all the time. Both sides are declaring quite, well, how can I say it, undiplomatic words towards each other. But having said this, how we see it in Turkey as such is that there's an escalation, there's an aggressive behavior coming from the Israeli side with actions, not only words, but actual actions.
So the next clip he cuts in, but you've got that late. He lays it out a little bit. He's like, you know, they bombed not only once but 8 times to destroy this foreign base, which is a Turkish base located in Syria, and it's just insane that you can just do that and think it's okay. And I didn't actually fully listen to the guy's intro the first go around, but you can see the quote unquote when he's talking about aggressive behavior from Israel, confirmed missiles from Israel, quote unquote. So I-24 is owned by Israel, and it becomes evidently apparent in this next clip. But the reason this is important, if you're thinking, why do I care about why the Jews are bombing a rump state like Syria? And it becomes important because that base was a Turkish base, and last week we were talking about the Mecca Pact, which was signed between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, which Israel viewed as a direct threat against itself. Now they're attacking a Turkish installation inside of Syria directly after that pact has been signed. So it kind of talks to the level of this escalatory nature of what's happening in the region. And we talked about a crossover potentially between the Ukrainian war and what's happening with Iran and the United States, kind of devolving into potentially a global war or a world war. And this really doesn't help the case.
I want to point out that Idlib is within 15 airline miles of Turkey.
Yeah, it's very close to the border. It's just over the border in Syria. And, you know, I think both Netanyahu and Erdogan feel like they have some sort of claim over Syria. I think Erdogan's is obviously stronger, while Israel is more just concerned about its own personal defense and making sure that they never become a real nation again. But this is when you understand that the reporter on I-24 is Israeli and very much biased. And the Turkish ambassador, he drops the kind of diplomatic tone and starts throwing a lot of yous and us in there. So it's pretty fun. Have a listen.
Well, let me cut in there for a minute, Cengiz.
Yeah, of course.
Look, Israel isn't launching strikes this deep in Syria for practice. And you're talking about the threats emanating from Israel at this point, but there's clearly a perception of threat, you know, coming out of Syria, which is a patchwork of jihadi groups supported by the Turkish government, which you talk about hostile rhetoric. You know, we could write a book on the rhetoric that's come from Ankara in the last year just towards Israel.
Since when is Syria a patchwork of jihadi groups? Last time I checked, Syria had our guy installed as the leader. And our president was touting him as not only a great leader, but also very handsome.
Yeah. Well, the public narrative, which is out there, but it's also not out there. People that, like us and our audience that are kind of in the know and go a little bit deeper in the surface level, we know that he's our guy. But I think the vast majority of people still haven't put 2 and 2 together. And so this idea that Syria is just this random Middle Eastern terrorist state still resonates with people. They're like, oh, yeah, just a bunch of sand guys wiping their asses with their left hand.
Knowing what we know about the dynamic in Syria, do you think Israel is carrying this out just because they know they can without consequence from the nation that installed the leader in Aleppo?
I think they're pissed off. I think they're pissed off about the Mecca Pact, and I think it was a message to say, don't think about doing any sort of military operations outside of your borders, period. I think that's what Israel's angle is here. And it's I know you didn't like it, but it's what Daryl Cooper was talking about with the Zionist mentality of everyone is out to get us. It makes perfect sense from that perspective of this is what you do. If you felt like Turkey was going to use Syria as a military site, and Turkey is obviously not friends with Israel, you got to throw stones at them.
Well, they absolutely are going to use Syria as a military site.
Yeah.
We identified that it was Turkey before our president confirmed that it was Turkey, because we identified that it was Turkish gear that the fighters were using who stormed Aleppo.
Name a country that doesn't use Syria for military operations, and I'll show you a featherweight country.
Well, as far as I know, Mississippi never has, and I'm kind of ashamed.
Mississippi doesn't have the missiles. Neither does Missouri. But here we go. We'll continue.
Groups supported by the Turkish government, which you talk about hostile rhetoric. We could write a book on the rhetoric that's come from Ankara in the last year just towards Israel, all the illegitimate talk and things like that. So, what stability exactly do you think Ambassador Barak and others are pushing for right now?
Well, Turkey and, as far as I can understand, with Ambassador Barak as well, they're trying to build alliances at the moment. Now, Syria is not a state that is going to cause any harm to Israel at the moment or for the foreseeable future. So attacking it all the time, continuously using your words, rehearsing our actions on the ground, etc., these are all contrary to international law. What needs to be done is to make sure that we go back to talking. We go back to diplomacy. We go back to actually seeing eye to eye on certain things. If the Syrians can get together and build a state again, a viable state that runs, that has a viable economy, etc., it's not going to be detrimental to anybody, including Israel. Now, what we do see is that Israel doesn't want any sort of viable, standing, stable economy or country in Syria.
See? So he's about to say, why would you say that? And this is the rump state strategy that we talked about probably a year or so ago, about how Israel wants rump states around it that can't pose any sort of threat, no national strength. And so he makes that argument just here, and that is what sets off the I-24 reporter here.
Or country in Syria.
Where are you pulling that from, though, gang? Just from a strike on a remote airbase that Turkey's allegedly building up? We don't want anything stable in Syria?
These are the actions of the Israeli state that has been ongoing for quite some time. You've been attacking aggressively a state, you've been calling them jihadists, etc., but they haven't attacked you. Not a single attack has come your way. You've enlarged your territory. Turkey is, yes, building the network there so that the government can function. And it's been called by another state to come in and help. And we're trying to do that. On the contrary, Israel is bombing nonstop. This has to stop. We're looking at this from a time frame of, is this going to continue until the elections, or is this going to stop after the elections? If it doesn't stop after the elections, it means that Israel is on a warpath nonstop with everybody. And if you want to have another country like Turkey on your warpath, go ahead. I don't recommend it at all. This is a very reckless, very undiplomatic way of going forward.
And after that, he like hangs up on the guy. He doesn't even respond to him. But it's funny.
Okay, here's another wrinkle from Al Jazeera from an article titled President Ahmed al-Shara, Syria seeking security deal with Israel. Syrian President, I'm reading now. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara has revealed that Damascus is actively working to reach a security agreement with Israel with the participation of several countries. And I'm looking for the several countries.
India. I bet India's in there.
Well, I'm not sure yet, but there's this, which pretty much kills the deal. He also assured that such an agreement would not compromise Syria's right to the occupied Golan Heights, which Israel has illegally occupied since 1973. So that's to me, that's a deal breaker for Israel. They're never going to agree to that.
Right. Go ahead.
This appears to be basically a veiled Turkish effort to stop Israel from bombing developments in Syria. If you get a security agreement between Syria and Israel, then Turkey can develop Syria and have less of a risk from having their developments bombed.
You don't think that would not be part of the contract or the agreement? That would be on page 69 of the fine print. No Turkish military base.
We reserve the right to bomb you.
Yeah, exactly. Something along those lines. So what's interesting is this idea here of that guy laid out is basically Israel doesn't want to see any sort of strong state form in Syria. And the reporter calls him out for it and says, where did you pull that out of? And that's just observing how Israel acts around countries. They love rump states next door. It's no surprise. So this Professor Zhang was on Theo Von this week, and it was an hour and 45 minutes of like...
Is this Chalkboard Zhang?
Yeah, Chalkboard Zhang. And there's something I don't like about Professor Zhang.
He's shallow.
Well, I can't rule out that he's not an agent for the CCP. And something about the way that he presents stuff is uncomfortable. I find suspicious.
He routinely oversimplifies things.
I agree with that.
Maybe I shouldn't say shallow.
I agree with that. But Theo Von also makes the interview kind of unsufferable by being so uneducated about every topic and having him define simple words. I forget which one was. I forget what word it was, but it was like, dude, how do you not know that? Anyways, he talks about the Greater Israel Project, which is effectively Israel seizing, all this land around that it's promised, including the little horn of Egypt and all the way north through Lebanon, all that various land that they want through the Greater India Project. And he talks about the escalation ladder that leads there. And off the back of the Mecca peace agreement that we were talking about last week between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, it was mentioned in one of the clips that was going to drive Israel closer to India. And so as he goes up this escalation ladder of how he sees the future going potentially, of a potential option, he talks about, Israel kind of destroying all of the Middle East and killing all these people. And I thought this was probably the only interesting takeaway from that entire 2 hours of interview that I watched, describing about how Israel would then run the Middle East after it had control, if it ever got control.
One of those things, especially with the technology, and then you start to see the surveillance stuff happening in America, it starts to make you think, well, why wouldn't it come here? Like that's certainly a fear that I hear a lot, is that that we're going to become in this surveillance state, and then the same thing could happen to us over here if we're out of line if Israel were to gain control of America, and then we're out of line with something that they see or some behavior or something, or they want to move people here off of their land, that's something that's very scary.
Yeah. So if you look at Gaza, I think Gaza is the pilot for a surveillance state.
You think it's pilot for what?
For surveillance state.
Yeah, as a testing ground.
That's a testing ground for surveillance state. Because the theory is that once Israel achieves the Greater Israel Project, it now needs to control this entire area. And there aren't that many Jews. So it needs surveillance technology in order to control the local population. What I think will happen, and this is going to shock a lot of people, is right now Israel is very close with India. And India, the population is booming, and there's a lot of young people. And if you just let them stay in India, they're going to revolt against you because the economy's not doing so well. But so what if Israel and India were to get together and says, hey, let's bring in millions of Indians to work now in the Middle East, because war has destroyed the population of the Middle East. And now you can use surveillance technology to control these Indians. And the Indian people are used to a caste system anyway. So the idea that the Jews are at the very top, right? And the Indians are a working class, doing the labor, and it's all being controlled by surveillance technology. Well, you would achieve the Greater Israel Project.
Wow. And do you think that's what's going on?
I think that's the direction we're moving towards. Whether or not they will succeed, I can't really say, but I think that's the plan.
So that's also interesting based on the Daryl Cooper interview that we heard of, you didn't buy that narrative, and I understand your skepticism of Ceuta. But the flooding of lands and removing sort of the kind of flooding out the cultures that live there and replacing them with these immigrant groups now, you've removed any connection to the past, and a disorganized, chaotic group is easier to control. So flooding the Middle East with Indians is a theory that I think is quite fascinating, honestly.
I don't think that ever happens.
I don't think it's happening, no, but I think it is interesting. It kind of takes what's happening around the world now of flooding Western countries with immigrants, and it takes that concept and applies it to the Middle East, which would be unique. So the idea is that the governments of these countries would be destroyed in war or something, and then new governments, pseudo-puppet states of Israel would be installed, and they would immigrate a bunch of Indians to the Middle East to run various things and pretty much take over the population.
Okay, what do you think? Let's pull the thread of Chalkboard Zhang being a CCP asset.
Yep.
What do you think the sentiment among Indians who have access to the internet would be if they hear that India's strategy is to send them to the Middle East to get between the state of Israel and the nation of Arabs as basically a buffer population? Do you think that would increase or decrease the domestic favor with Israel in India?
I think the people that pay attention to the news and get involved in tech want to go to Silicon Valley in the United States. I think the people that want to run gas stations and just want to live anywhere else other than India, they're all for it. I don't think this narrative really breaches into the depths of India. I don't think that many people are super informed. It's a very poor country.
But if he's a CCP asset, all you need is a clip from a major American media publication or media show to be able to publish in Indian social media to affect the sentiments toward Israel.
This random guy, when you could have all these different job industries and lifestyles, working in the oil fields, you can send a bazillion rupees home a month. I'm just saying there could be easy counter narrative outside of that. I do like where your head's at of if this guy is a CCP agent, and I think he is. If I'm being honest with you, it might be racist, but this guy is.
Well, the fundamental question then is: does it benefit China to have to strain relations between Israel and the Indian people? To have the Indian people questioning Israel as much as now the American people do?
I think a Middle East that's flooded with foreigners that aren't Muslims benefits everybody, to be honest with you, when it comes to energy and oil and the whole 9 yards with what's there.
We've already replaced the American workers in America. Now you want to replace the ones that go to the Middle East to make a decent living?
You water down the extremism by adding a bunch of people that refuse to eat a hamburger.
I don't ever see that happening. I see it as a rhetorical weapon. And I do think he's most likely affiliated with the CCP, given his rapid rise and the veritable lack of content that he actually produces.
Yeah, Definitely the algos were played with, because I saw a couple of videos and I go, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of what we're talking about. And then for him to be on the algos of people like Theo Vaughn, who doesn't understand what a testing ground means, or whatever he said, that he had to change to testing ground to understand. It does speak to the fact that he's probably hooked up with some organization or some government like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's something I never heard, flooding the Middle East with Indians. I don't think it happens. I don't think
Louis Steed, here you go. She says 1988 dot Indians were imported as labor in Arab states. Red dot Indians, as opposed to feather Indians.
Well, maybe that's something we could research and figure out exactly what happened there and if there's still a pipeline. A lot of Indians work in international shipping. So I wonder if there was a shift from working in the Middle East to working in international shipping in that demo that was going to the Middle East.
So Eric Pepe is saying CGTN did a story on him, and he's literally Chinese government. So he was in the Chinese government, according to Eric Pepe and CGTN, which is, I'm not even sure what this organization is.
Our instincts remain solid.
I agree. The way I'm listening to him, and Theo Vaughn even brings it up at one point. Oh no, I can't follow the chat and talk at the same time. People, I say. Oh, CGTN is a Chinese government channel. I see. So the Chinese government is promoting him. I'm picking it up now.
Well, there are people that won't see the chat.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you, Eric Pepe. Sorry for the audio listeners that are feel like they're watching or listening to a ping pong match right now, which is funny on multiple levels.
Yes, it is.
But I thought that was kind of fascinating. The idea of the Indians flooding. Will it happen? I don't know, but it is a strategy that's being deployed by someone across the world, the global elites, if you will.
Well, I think we're about to get a new wave, a conflict that might produce a new wave of refugees, as they're known in our modern times, and this is going on in Ethiopia. And in the Africa folder, I have a clip about the breakout of some hostilities in the Tigray region.
Ooh,
large African package,
or just a small one.
Reports of a visible military buildup in the south of the Ethiopian region of Tigray, which has been on the brink of war with the federal government for months. Both the army and the Tigrayan TPLF.
It's Tigray and Tigrayan, right?
Yes, I believe. That's what we're going to say anyway.
Are now blaming each other for the most serious escalation in conflict since the 2022 peace deal ended 2 years of civil war in which a conservatively estimated 600,000 people were killed. Several people died along the Sudan-Ethiopia border during clashes over the weekend that also sent projectiles into refugee camps nearby. Fighting has stopped since Saturday, but hundreds of people have been fleeing into Sudan, which itself is at war. Tom Canetti breaks it all down for us from Addis Ababa.
The TPLF has released a statement accusing Ethiopian government forces of starting these clashes on Saturday, that mass casualties have occurred and that hospitals in Gondar and Western Tigray have been overwhelmed. France 24 cannot independently verify those claims nor any casualty numbers. But on the Ethiopian government side, certain members, such as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's advisor Getachew Reda, have condemned and blamed the TPLF and called on them to rethink their actions for the future of Tigray, Since these clashes, we've seen reports of hundreds fleeing across the border into Sudan to shelter from any further escalation of conflict. It comes after a week-long mass media campaign by the state-run Ethiopian media condemning the TPLF and inflammatory comments from the TPLF in the same week against Addis Ababa, which caused concern that such an outbreak could take place. These tensions have been brewing for months between these two parties, particularly after the TPLF forcibly removed the interim president of the region, who was appointed by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and replaced him with a more hardliner leader. As well, when the entire region was excluded from the general elections. And subsequently, I spoke to eyewitnesses there who witnessed forced recruitment and forced conscription by the TPLF among young Tigrayan men, causing a mass exodus of the region. The Ethiopian government accuses the TPLF of creating an anti-Ethiopia alliance named SIMDO, which is a Tigrinya word for alliance or engagement.
It's interesting that it's happening right there because, I mean, what do you think, 500 miles to the west or east of that is another conflict that's going on right now with the Houthis?
Yes, and even a shorter distance than that, you have the Red Sea, where the Houthis have actually been striking vessels and causing some havoc that is being underreported, probably for economic purposes.
Have you seen some of the damage that's happening in Saudi Arabia? Like these towns in Saudi Arabia?
No.
Oh my gosh, I know decimated is a term people in this community like to rag on, but just the destruction that this rebel group, this small little rebel group in the country of Yemen is able to do is jaw-dropping. Targeting infrastructures and weapons depots completely leveled. It's insane. It is being underreported.
Very much so. I actually have some particulars here. I don't have any of that footage, but let's see. Strait of Hormuz, no.
Trying to see if I can find some photos of it.
Oh, here we go. Yemen, Houthis reignited war, struck al-Makra, 7 killed. And Baba Mandeb's ship had 6 killed. And government military sites had 30-plus soldiers killed.
In Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I was seeing. It was like a tornado had gone through, but also blowing everything up. It was bad.
Well, just a few weeks ago, we brought the clip stating that the Houthis are nothing to be toyed with, and they are one of the only groups, including nation states in the region, that have hypersonic missiles, which is kind of a misnomer. If you're really into military terminology, a hypersonic missile really can mean many things. But sometimes people say hypersonic and they're just talking about the actual speed. When you talk about nation-state level hypersonics, you're talking about being able to navigate at hypersonic speed, not just throw something in a straight line at hypersonic speed, but also being able to maneuver it while maintaining hypersonic speed. And I doubt the Houthis have that capability, but it's still difficult to intercept something at hypersonic speeds, even if it can't navigate.
Yeah, I think
maneuver.
I think what's happening with the Houthis in Yemen, I think it is because the Houthis are a proxy of Iran. I think it is actually it's being goaded by certain nation states to goad Saudi Arabia into direct conflict with Iran. Which again,
well, what better way to disrupt a fledgling peace deal and security deal than to throw it into conflict right off the bat?
Sure, I agree. You got Israel hitting the Turkish base in Syria. You've got the Yemen, who is funded by Iran, throwing missiles at Jazan, which, by the way, I met a guy that listens to the show this weekend in St. Louis, drives a work truck. When I said, don't Jazan me, Houthis, he said he had to pull over. because he was laughing so hard. So shout out to you, Jim. So that was funny. But, you know, you've got all these different events happening, and it seems like, you know, Turkey's a reason to piss off at Israel. And then it does feel like Israel is kind of being puppet master on trying to get this new security agreement nation to take care of Iran for it, to get them on teams. And I think Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Erdogan, I don't know about Pakistan's leadership, but those two guys I know are at least well enough based in the real world to understand that that's probably what's happening too.
Well, what my question is, if we've got a security agreement between India, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, at what point do we see
Pakistan.
Indian military? I'm sorry. Yeah, Pakistan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get you mixed up. I'm very sorry. Between Pakistan, Saudi, and India would be a completely different story.
Yeah.
Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. How soon until we see Turkish military in Yemen, in the Red Sea, Pakistani forces in Syria, and Saudi Arabian forces in Afghanistan? And I don't know. I think they're very small scale clashes along the Pakistani-Afghan border. But the U.S. is bombing targets in Afghanistan in conjunction with Pakistan. So this feels like, you know, last week we talked about how it could be this consolidating force, and it could be the beginnings of trying to glue this region together. There's very much a possibility that this turns out to be the beginnings of a chaos spiral, where you spread everybody out. They're all dedicated to helping one another, and they're actually trying to uphold the agreement. And you just have militaries everywhere across the region fighting this group and that group, and some don't even know who they're fighting or why they're fighting. It could really be a chaotic thing. Now, the more likely scenario is that this security agreement just gets scrapped because it's unworkable. And there are certain actors in the region that have an incentive to show how unworkable it is immediately after the security pact's inception.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how we used to call that area around the Black Sea the Ring of Fire. And I'm realizing that the ring is just expanding and expanding. And you know what happens when it grows too big? It's a world at war.
Yeah.
Man. You know, I know I've mentioned this point before, but years ago, I went to an NA meetup, and I said to a guy that had fallen off, he wasn't really a dedicated no agenda listener at the time, that it's like, it feels like we're in the opening stages, you know, the opening years of World War III. And he kind of laughed. And I just wonder what he'd be thinking today. I know he never thinks about it, but I do all the time, because I'm like, well, seems like we're getting closer there, bud.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good and depressing.
Well, I mean, yeah, but also it's just the way the world is. I mean, there's never going to be a time of absolute peace around the world, and the U.S. could very well experience a time of unrivaled peace at home if we chose to, but there's too much empire at stake.
It's true.
And I commiserate with that. I understand that. It's just it's also healthy to realize that we always have the choice to have peace at home and not be involved in all of this and tell the rest of the world it's your job to pull yourself together. And I like to think that Trump actually wanted to try that in the Middle East in the beginning of this term, and he said as much, but it really hasn't gone that way, has it?
No, it hasn't. That was the death of MAGA, I think. Charlie Kirk, And then this spiral that's happened ever since. Man. Well, what do you think? Should we thank some people, or do you want to do more clips?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of domestic material for second half. So let's take a bit of a timeline cleanse, thank some people, and get back into some domestic news.
Let's do that.
Millennial Media.
Offensive.
You are riding along in the offensive every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. John and I hop on the stream at stream.mmo.show and tell you what's going on and how we feel about the news and what's going around the world. There was a little bit of a weird news week where there wasn't, I don't think there was a definitive story. After our show last week, there was still talk of the Air Force One swap. And I still fail to see why that is such a big story and why anyone cares about that, honestly.
People like intrigue.
But it's like, it seems like a pretty standard protocol of, oh, there's a threat. Well, let's change plans.
I never thought it seemed like standard protocol to use a catering truck. Switch planes, maybe.
Well, you got to sell it, you know.
Big man was hungry.
You don't tell your kids, go to bed, Santa Claus is coming, and then go out there and do a bunch of banging around. Oh, don't worry, kids. It's Santa. He's coming down. No. You make sure they're in a dead asleep, and then Santa comes. Everyone knows how that works.
I don't see how that's relevant, but I'll let you run with it.
You can't half sell it. You got to full sell it. I don't know. Anyway, we don't have any sponsors or advertisements on the show, and so we rely on people returning the value. Got a lot of proof of life this week, which is appreciated. But there's many ways to give value back. It can be in fiat, it can be in information, it can be in website building. I don't know if you saw that email from the Dirty Jersey, but he's trying to kick off MMOmeetups.com. Very cool looking website. Definitely vibe coded, but that's value. It can be in articles. Trashman usually sends us an email a week with a bunch of links in it, which is I always like to read and look at. And it can just be in feedback of, I didn't like this, I like this, do more of that. John was wrong. Dan, you should highlight how often John is wrong more often. You know, I get that email probably 3 times a week, but it's all value. And we always like to start off by the person that provided the artwork from the last episode. And this is a NetNed. I don't even have to look at who the attributions for it to know that this is indeed a NetNed piece here. I can tell a NetNed because of the font. It's always the same font.
And you are a stickler for the font.
I am indeed. It was a good concept. I liked it. This is the Vaxing soda.
Yes.
Based on,
it goes right into the baby's body.
Right in there. You fill it up. It's half the baby's body weight.
A real pick-me-up.
Yep. I like the
it's a good
signs.
piece. It's funny.
It is a good piece. I like the signs. Good health is everybody's business. And then behind
That's a great slogan.
Be wise, immunize, prevents colds, cola, and carelessness. Try our vaccine soda. A real pick-me-up. It's a good piece. Indeed. Thank you very much, NetNed. What was the other one we were debating? We thought that piece, the piece had won. It was sent in by Woof, of all people. I don't know.
Let's see. I'm going to pull it up real quick so we can give it give it the old critique.
The old critique. Lots of emails this week. Oh my gosh. I also got invited to help kick off a new podcast too. And they promised me I could swear on that show. So.
Well, the show's done, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, it was the Trump pulling a Trump out of a hat. I forget what that is even reference to.
Well, it was him sneaking himself out of the area,
that's
out of
right.
Turkey A.
That's right. And he sent us a compilation of all the times he tried to get the guy sawing him in half.
Yeah, sawing Trump in half, but Trump being okay. Yeah.
It was funny. Yeah, very well done.
And then we have the Chinese earthquake machine, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, the terracotta army hitting a gong.
Yeah.
Too good. Thank you very much. Woof,
They were good
submissions.
attempts, but the soda vaccine was just, it was better. It was a better piece. The font, Wolf really nails the font every week.
Every
I
week.
mean, even if the piece doesn't win, his font is spectacular. But just overall, the net piece was the winner. But we appreciate everyone who sent in their art, and you can send in your art to john@mmo.show and dan@mmo.show. And if you're emailing Dan about how I'm wrong, why don't you send it to me, you coward?
Oh, too good. I will keep your identities anonymous. Good people, all 40 of you. So we did get some fiat donations as well. And starting off at the top of the list and earning herself an executive producer credit, came in through PayPal with $68.27 USD, is the Millennial Bookkeeper. She says proof of life donation of 101 Australian dollaroos. Yeah, I know. That exchange rate is rough.
Ooh.
That's what I said when I saw it. I go, oh my gosh. Life has been really hard recently, but it's finally on the up and up, so thank you both for the 3 hours of levity each week. Take care. And we're glad.
Well, she does get credit for $100 donation.
Yes, yeah. So she gets
you get credit in your native currency.
That's correct. So thank you very much, Millennial Bookkeeper. I'm glad that life's better, and glad we could be a part of it being better. So. And because you're from the land down under, I never get to play this.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. Time for some news down under.
There you go.
What is the charge?
Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
Indeed it is. Thank you much, ma'am. Up next on the list is Eli the Coffee Guy. He came in through PayPal with $33.33 and says, been missing the show of late, adding a newborn to the mix. Hey, congratulations. While keeping track of a 3-year-old has appended my listening routine. Though I already have my young Miles listening to the MMO show. Hey, Miles, how's it going? Your dad's cool. Not that I'm missing any major news events. It's August and everything is on hold until the Europeans and the press get back from vacation. So true. Love what you guys do. Keep on doing it. And for producers who want some amazing fresh roasted coffee, visit gigawattcoffeeroasters.com and use code OTO20 for 20% off your order. Stay caffeinated and stay on the offensive. Eli the Coffee Guy.
On the offensive.
Glad. It's very true about the news cycle. It is incredibly slow this time of year. But thanks for getting your son on the offensive. And I don't know if you heard last week, Eli, but somebody had donated their savings from buying Gigawatt Coffee to us, so that was pretty cool.
That's true.
Thank you, sir. Sam S. of Burblandy and Beargrass came in through PayPal with $20.02 and says, proof of life dono, plus a tip, stay OTO. Hashtag I'm a millennial.
On the offensive.
I'm a millennial.
There you go. Thank you, Sam S., a good fella down in the Beargrass. Alex O., Sir Long Rock of Sierra Nevada, comes in through Stripe with $19.77 and says, encouraging everyone to buy one less latte or 6-pack this week and instead donate to MMO. Let's go. Sincerely, Alex O., Sir Long Rock of Sierra Nevada. Appreciate it. It's Long Rock, not Long Rack. That title is held by Dolly Parton. Thank you, Alex. Trashman comes in through PayPal with $13.42 and says 100 years ago, you'd have to go to a freak show in order to see a really fat person, someone covered in tattoos, and a bearded lady. Now you just have to go in public. Trashman. It's true. It is true. I saw that just today, and I work from home. Thank you very much. From across the pond, Mums Bear comes in through PayPal with $12.94 and says, I'm a real person. And then she gives us a tip. Add a link to your show notes, where to donate, and the different options, monthly, etc. UK, she says. So thank you. Well, I think she had a UK flag in her donation and it came through. But good to know. We got people across the pond. And it's the first time I think we've seen Mums Bear. So thank you. Virgo Jr. of the Virginia Peninsula comes in through Stripe with $10 and says, "In the morning, fellas. Having heard the Carl Tuckerson episode on the No Agenda stream last week, I was grateful, but now pissed to discover just how late to your show I am. As myself, a fellow millennial, yours is a fresh take on a format of media deconstruction I have grown to love. Live long and hard, gents." That's no issue in this household, I'll tell you that much. Virgo Jr. of Virginia Peninsula. I appreciate the pronunciation guide on that, too. Thank you, sir. The Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo with $5 and says, "Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
I can tell you have never been drunk in Germany. There are doner kebab shops on every corner in large cities. Good way to soak up beer. I have been drunk in the Munich area once or twice." And then Nail Lord comes in again with Venmo, through Venmo with $5 and says, "Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
Sup, boys? Where my Africa news? You got some today." And he says, "Can I get a turkey-a?" And you can. The rare Nail Lord of Gaylord twice in one episode don't know. That's when he pulls the trigger the day after the episode and then forgets and pulls it again the day of this episode. So thank you very much, sir. Appreciated. Finally, ending the list is Praetor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands came in through Cash App with $33.33 and says simply OTO, to which I say,
on the offensive.
Thank you, sir. That does it for our Fiat Donators healthy list. Glad to see some new names on there, some people that are finding the show. Welcome. Welcome. We love you.
Yes, welcome. It's good to see that you're out there and see that you're alive. I like the showing, and it's much appreciated. And I, for one, am going to put a couple more hours into next week's work just because of the value that's been returned. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good about being here. We also have some boosts. Bully Steed comes in with 3,333 boosting Satoshis and says, "Remain on the offensive. Hashtag MMO. Look to the Arctic for the next oil route. Hashtag OTO. And yes, you will need a map. Yes, you will."
Ooh.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
Yeah, she actually...
I don't know...
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you've ever done any research on the Arctic icebreakers that Russia and the U.S. have and are developing. They are quite the engineering marvel.
They just bash ice?
They cut through Arctic ice sheet.
Yeah, they're nuke powered, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think she's referring to a route around Russia for China and oil supply as the new or the ice Silk Road. I think she tagged me in something pertaining to that, if I recall. People tag me on stuff on like Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. I'm like, this is not the time. This is the worst time. Take me on Wednesdays.
Oh, hey, they're thinking of the show.
I know. I appreciate it. I do. Thank you very much, Billy Steed.
Yes, thank you very much. And that is a fascinating topic for anyone who wants to check it out. Let's see here. Where did the boost? I went to the map. I got distracted by the map. Where did the boost go? Here we go. Make Heroism comes in with 1,666 Satoshis and says salute.
Oh, that's his $1 POL.
Ah, proof of life. Okay.
Yep.
Nostragang comes in with a POL, 1,577 Satoshis. We are the 1.5% K porn REIT.
K porn.
K porn. Okay.
I forgot about that. It's the best,
yeah.
best kind of horn. Is K porn.
Yeah. C. Brooklyn comes in with 100 Satoshis and says OTO. Thank you very much, C. Brooklyn. Thank you very much, Nostragang, Make Heroism, and Bully Steed. We also have Eric PP and Weirdo streaming Satoshis. 154 from Eric PP and 70 from Weirdo. And we appreciate all the value, all the emails. As Dan mentioned, we did get many emails. There was, I got an email about basically a synchronicity around my discussion of the potential end of times and the Noahide laws as they exist and may exist in the future, which I really appreciated. Lots of links, lots of stuff that is on the list, but may not make the cut tonight, but we may need it next week. How many folders did you say we had tonight? Like 13 folders?
Let's see, 232. For whatever reason, it no longer wants to show me the structured folder that we usually have set up for this. So I might need to reset.
Well, my session timed out, so it could be something.
It's it's FooBar that I use to play the clips, and it's not cooperating with me right now. 232. I think we had something like 18 folders, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, wow. That may be an all-timer. Yeah, and this is something that, you know, God rest his soul, John C. Dvorak complained about with our show. He didn't complain about it as a point of constructive feedback. He was actually just griping about our show when he said that it took us an hour to go through the content that he could get through in 10 minutes, which I thought was funny. But, you know, maybe we'll be able to get through 18 folders in one show one day.
That's right. Silly me. I had put the view to by album as opposed to by folder structure. So that's why. Yeah, 18 folders. Anyway, MMOmeetups.com, put together by DJW. Some value there. Heavily vibe coded, but appreciated. And maybe we get some meetups going. I know for a fact that we've got enough guys in St. Louis to do one. I met him. And I'm meeting another guy, too. Remember we were talking about Crazy Dave last week? Well, Crazy Dave told the guy about our show. He's going to be in St. Louis next week. I'm going to meet him for dinner.
You just love meeting guys, don't you?
I love meeting random guys, preferably in smoky bars. That's right.
Yes, yeah, MMOmeetups.com and Grindr.com.
Grindr.com for a little bit more out of your meetup. It's MEATUP.
I knew you were going there. Okay, well, why don't we move this thing along? Thank you all for the donations and the value that you return to the show. If you have not sent a Proof of Life donation, we are going to take that total count on episode 135 or after episode 135. So you've got a few episodes to save up $1. I know it's tough, but you know, all we're asking is just a little token to say I'm here. I appreciate what you do. Carry on. We're running somewhat of an experiment with this. So Proof of Life donations welcome. Any donations over Proof of Life also welcome. So you know what to do. We appreciate you even if you don't do it. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. And until someone convinces Dan to kick me off the show, we will continue.
Someday soon, maybe.
Get it on!
Alrighty then. Where should we start? Oh man, I guess we might have pulled the gun a little earlier because I've got some European clips that I should have played.
Oh no!
Oh no! Well, let's do domestic, and if we got time, I'll play them because they're not that interesting. They're not prescient.
Let me guess. AFD.
Yeah, they have elections coming up in September, and they're really.
Well, we've got time.
Okay, all right.
We've got time for AFD before the election.
That's true.
But we may not have time to discuss the weather. We might all die.
It's looking that way.
So, I have CBS Sunday, which if you see something like this on CBS Sunday, you know it's really got legs. I mean, these are the kind of legs that normal news stories dream about. And this is summer weather, CBS Sunday.
Those legs go all the way up?
We begin this morning with Jonathan Vigliotti, taking a closer look at this record-breaking summer of extreme weather from coast to coast.
In Washington, D.C. this July, America's 250th birthday
Sir, you gotta start heading out.
began with an evacuation.
Due to approaching severe weather, we are temporarily pausing the event.
An incoming summer storm forced crowds gathered on the National Mall for fireworks, out of the park, and indoors. Hours later, the show finally went on. But by then, Mother Nature had made her point. For tens of millions of Americans, the season long associated with getting away has increasingly become something to get away from. In Texas, a second once-in-a-thousand-year flood in 12 months. In Indiana, outside Tornado Alley,
It's jumping.
a record 77 twisters. And there through it all, the heat. July was the hottest month ever in the lower 48, breaking a record last set during the Dust Bowl.
And so we just got the dogs, the cat, the kid, and we just got out.
July's heat, months of drought and high winds, fueled a brush fire in Spokane, Washington, allegedly started by an arsonist. Within hours, flames had gone from the forest into Ted Chauvin's neighborhood.
When you look around, what is it that you see? What goes on in your mind?
I see where I was diagnosed with cancer, where I beat cancer, where we had our child, and the memories we gave her and growing up in this place. That honestly has been the hardest part, is the memories and hearing our kiddo go, I miss my house. I miss my house.
Yeah, I'd miss his
You were
house, too.
saying wait during this clip.
You said it was the hottest July since the Dust Bowl, which is 90 years ago. So, kind of shoots that whole global warming thing in the face.
Well, what they're not going to discuss is what we discussed last week, and that is the developing El Nino in the Pacific, which is suppressing the Atlantic hurricane activity, which is also not being reported in conjunction with this extreme weather. So I wanted to bring a timeline to give our audience some context in this extreme weather environment that we find ourselves in, because it is one of the hottest years on record so far. So in late May, we had a European heat wave. I think we discussed it. It's when we discussed the air conditioner, right? We had our air conditioning discussions.
Yep.
Then on June 2nd, a scientific agency put out a presser for El Nino odds at 80%, which is where the discussion of El Nino started. And then the CPC upgraded their guidance from an El Nino watch to an El Nino advisory on June 11th. And then the WHO released a map of wildfire burned area in Europe primarily, and this was reported by UN News. And then on July 31st, Gutierrez from the UN gave a presser stating that El Nino was not on the doorstep, but was already in the house. So this has been building, this narrative about the extreme weather, and underlying it is this El Nino cycle. But when it's convenient, you don't really hear the discussion about El Nino. You heard some discussion about El Nino before this week, but this week it has been nothing but the extreme weather events. So, the next clip we have here in this CBS Sunday segment is about the Washington State wildfires, which, of course, as you heard in the timeline, was part of the rollout of this extreme summer weather narrative. So, Washington State wildfires.
This year has been Washington State's most destructive wildfire season to date. Another new record.
Something's changing, and what we need to do is really ask the questions to figure out what to do about it.
The summer of 2026 is another step in the escalation of our world into a sort of hotter, more dangerous planet that climate scientists have been telling us about for decades.
Are these isolated events, or are they all connected?
Oh, they're absolutely all connected. We're creating a different world, and we need to think about that and adapt to that world.
But before
What'd you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was emphasizing his use of the word absolutely, that they're absolutely connected.
Gotcha. 100%. No doubt.
But before we can adapt, climate journalist Jeff Goodell says we have to recognize there is a problem. The titles of his best-selling books read like today's headlines.
We just tend to normalize them and tend to think, oh, it's just an abnormal year. There's always been a heat wave. It's always been hot in Texas. You know, there's always been big hurricanes, whatever.
Is it fair to say, to characterize it this way, that we are frogs in a pot that is slowly boiling and we're not noticing what's happening around us?
Yeah, I think that's a very appropriate
Says
analogy
the guy with
for sure. Because I do think that it captures this idea of these slow changes that we don't recognize until it's too late.
Heat wave.
The guy who writes books about climate.
This guy only writes about climate change. Is it fair to say that we're all going to die? Yes. Yes, it is.
Now
would people benefit from reading your books? Well, yes, they would.
Buy my book. But don't burn it, because that will emit CO2 into the environment.
3 times as often as in the 1960s. Today's wildfires burn twice as much land each year as in the 1990s. It's a similar pattern across the Atlantic. Deadly fires and record heat swept Europe, where air conditioning is still uncommon because it rarely got so hot for so long.
Yeah.
Heat is estimated to have claimed more than 10,000 lives in Europe.
Not because they're all old buildings built of concrete that make it impossible to install any sort of electrical or anything in them.
Well, last time we talked about this, I made the point that a lot of homes in Europe were built to be conducive to airflow to negate the need for air conditioning. My wife brought up a really good point after she listened to that show. She said, look, what you're missing here, yes, those homes were built that way, but those homes that are still there and were built that way have had other developments built around them, so they don't get any airflow anyway.
Right. Yeah. They're built up, stacked on top of each other. Plus, the material that they use is a lot more cement and like cylinder block, and it makes it difficult.
Right.
Where you can drill a hole through a wooden 2x4 and run wiring through it. It's damn near impossible. You got to like chisel out stone in order to do something similar to that in Europe. Most European countries.
Caveman.
Exactly.
Now, I want to point out something. In the first clip we had, they talked about, they hit on briefly wildfire in the Northwest and admitted that it was caused by arson. But then in this wildfire clip, they go on to say, after there's been plenty of time between the admission that one of the fires was caused by arson, they go on to say there are twice as many fires now. Or twice as many acres burned now than in the 1990s. I would love to see the comparison of arson incidents in the 90s versus now, because I think they would be much higher, maybe even more than doubly so.
Sure. It's a good point.
Okay, well, let's bring this home to the listener. You know, we're talking about, all these doom and gloom and fires, and we're all going to die, and it's hot, and it's going to be hotter. And tornadoes and the worst things you can think of because you drive your car to the grocery store. Let's bring it home and say, okay, well, what about your life is going to change? So they're going to try to tie this to the calendar and say, life as you know it, it's over.
All of human civilization, all of life that we know has thrived in this sort of Goldilocks zone. The human civilization has evolved in the last, 10,000 years. And we've evolved
or shorter
in this certain range of.
That's for the fundamentalists out there.
Now wait a minute.
Evolved.
Wait, I don't think if you take the scientific literature in good faith on human evolution, I don't think there have been any evolutionary changes in the last 10,000 years, according to the scientific literature of evolution.
Of human beings?
Yeah.
10,000 years?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate. I think there were like Neanderthals 10,000 years ago.
But we're not descendants of Neanderthals.
We are Homo sapiens. Well, that gets interesting. Did you ever read Yuval Harari's *Sapiens*? He discusses a little bit the theory of there was no inbreeding between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals.
Yeah, because we were good old-fashioned racists back then.
Well, there was. And it was to prevent the discussion from shifting to, hey, maybe some races are more Neanderthal than others, was the literal scientific reason for completely hiding that theory, which is probably true. So.
Okay, I ask a question to the crystal ball. When did modern genetic Homo sapiens emerge on the planet according to evolutionary theory? Current evidence places the emergence of anatomically modern Homo sapiens at roughly 300,000 years ago.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Now let's listen. There's a tell in here. There's a tell that this guy's full of crap. And I want you to restart the clip and listen for it.
All of human civilization, all of life that we know, has thrived in this sort of Goldilocks zone. The human civilization has evolved in the last, 10,000 years. And we've...
Goldilocks zone.
No. Has evolved in the last 10,000 years. Saying, is a classic tell.
Oh, gotcha.
And you can back it up just to play it one more time and then let it continue.
All of human civilization, all of life that we know, has thrived in this sort of Goldilocks zone. The human civilization has evolved in the last, 10,000 years. And we've evolved in this certain range of temperatures. And what's happening now is that we're moving out of that range.
But from a cultural perspective, do you think that our understanding of the calendar is going to change? Where summer break isn't July, it's another period.
Yes, absolutely.
So ice cream and the beach in October or November.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
How much of American life is built based on a climate that no longer exists?
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. Everything.
We don't know what will happen if people are eating ice cream in October.
Pandemonium.
Children's costumes. They have to wear short sleeves now. They're no longer allowed to wear those plastic masks that are uncomfortable and you can't see shit out of. It's
Halloween costumes have gotten more and more slutty. What's to blame? Climate.
And the Penn State ski team.
Good callback. Okay, let's continue this with what to do? What do we do? What to do?
Goodell says our understanding of how and where we build will also need to evolve.
It's particularly difficult to do here in the United States, even when you have cities with the best intention, if you don't have a federal government that is really, helping.
There it is.
My hope is that we can come together and figure something out, figure out solutions.
Maria Molina is an atmospheric scientist at the University of Maryland, where she's using artificial intelligence and past weather data to model future seasons.
You can see into the future.
And yes, and it will learn those signals and produce its best guess, right?
So does it worry you about what's to come down the road?
Yeah, I guess I want to clarify that there have always been extreme events, right? There will always be extreme events aside from the climate perspective. The question is, how are these extremes potentially evolving due to that background climate gradually warming? That is what could be concerning, because that could be a very small signal, like a slightly longer wildfire season, which may not seem meaningful when you hear it from like a statistical number, but suddenly that changes your likelihood of experiencing an extreme event.
Now, I wonder if she's also against data centers.
This whole thing is a native ad for reinstating USAID funding.
How do you figure?
Because, we got to help our third world partners not pollute. And so it all comes down to that. You heard it with the federal government argument in there too.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, the climate journalist wants federal action and nothing less.
Have you tried gluing yourself to the road?
Yeah, it's really cheap this time of year. You just lay down. No, it is interesting to see the disparity in news coverage around extreme climate events, because more people have died in Southeast Asia because of extreme climate events this year, within the last year, I should say, than in Europe. But Europe and the U.S. get a lion's share of coverage. And that, to me, is a tell that it's not really about the human impact. It's about something else.
Funding.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to say, this is going to, so we're going to have another year, we're going to likely have another year, another summer next year, another year of the enhanced El Nino. And that's going to lead right into a potential Democratic president in 2028 really using this as a foundation for mobilizing the federal government.
You think that 2028 or the summer before the 2028 election is going to be climate protests?
I don't know about climate protests, but it's going to be a continued topic of discussion. It's not going to leave the public consciousness.
All right.
So, well, let's end this out. Of course, we're on CBS Sunday morning, so you know the demographic. Let's end this with an emotional plea from none other than our climate journalist.
Yeah, we noticed a difference. There was not a smoke season in the past, and we didn't have that for the first 10 years that we lived here. So things are changing.
For Ted Chauvin, it's research that could help him read the signals and trust his next steps.
Do you move back? Have your neighbors gotten together and spoken about moving back?
Will we come back? I don't know. 2 o'clock yesterday, I would have said, yeah, sure, let's go back. 5 o'clock in the evening, no, we're not going to go back. It's way too emotional right now. There's way too much going on. We will stay in Spokane. Will it be here? I'm not 100% sure right now.
How will we reflect back on this period of time?
I walked through the woods with my daughter last weekend and thought about that. I just thought, what that world will look like. Sorry. When she's walking through with her kids, it won't be the same. And she'll ask what we did and what we didn't do.
Oh man, he's torn up.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same because you're not going to be sobbing next to her on the walking trail.
Dad was too busy crying on the news. Now all the birds are dead. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks. Well, honey, I cried on the news.
I cried on the. I did all I could
do.
I wrote blog after blog and book after book. No one seemed to buy it.
I wrote feverishly for our future.
You wrote books on paper? That's the progressive world. You own paper books?
Dad, people can't even read anymore.
So wasteful.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, that is not the end of my weather segment. I found something interesting that I want everyone to keep an eye out for. And this is an old Vice video from 8 years ago. And it's a partnership between Vice and HBO, back when Vice actually had some standing. And this is about attribution science.
Oh, boy.
It's really cold out, and right on cue, Twitter has been overrun with climate deniers cracking tired jokes about global warming. But beyond social media jabs lies a serious and ongoing discussion about how scientists connect extreme weather, be it a cold snap, a hurricane, or California's extreme fire season, to underlying climate change. Because the truth is, this science is really new. The first proper climate attribution study was published in 2004. Before that, scientists had struggled to explain exactly how specific weather events were connected to climate change. Now, more and more solid, peer-reviewed studies show how climate change affects the likelihood and severity of extreme weather.
Peer-reviewed by people that are receiving funding from the U.S. government to confirm climate change.
And the studies
right.
Yeah, it's all there.
Getting published really quickly after extreme weather events take place. Remember that study from 2004? It looked at a European heat wave that took place in 2003 and took a year and a half to complete. In contrast, just 3 months after Hurricane Harvey, scientists at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory published a study showing that Harvey dropped 38% more rain than it would have without underlying climate change.
We can't wait a year and a half for funding. Send it now.
How do you do that? What's your method? What is your hypothesis? How do you test your hypothesis there?
Well,
this hurricane dropped 30% more rain than it would have without background climate change.
The more climate studies that are done and have been done since 2004, the more you can reference them in your appendix for your
That's
study.
Right.
So it builds upon itself. See? All these people can't be wrong, right? All these people receiving money for funding for this kind of study can't be making sure it happens, right? Not Al Gore. Not Al Gore either. I'm trying to think of who's the race hustler guy?
Al Giuliani.
Al Sharpton.
Oh, Al Sharpton.
You went through every Al except for the right one.
Weird Al.
Alf. No. Yeah, Al Sharpton, he definitely wants to solve racism and not continue to profit by threatening protests on large corporations unless they pay him for classes, He's hell-bent on solving racism, not profiting from it, like these scientists.
But of course.
Yeah.
But of course. So this next clip is going to be a fellow named Miles Allen. And he was one of the first scientists involved in attribution science. And I'd love to see what attribution science has to say about inner city carjackings and bicycle theft. But anyway, Miles Allen attribution clip, and he's going to name an organization that I think we should keep on our radar, and that really serves as the backbone for a lot of what these media organizations are reporting and will report more frequently in the next couple of years, I feel.
Perfect.
Another group called World Weather Attribution found that hurricanes that size have become 3 times more probable. Here's how Miles Allen, one of the authors of the first climate attribution study, explained why studies today are getting published so much faster.
When we performed the study in 2003 looking at the European heat wave, nobody had actually attempted to quantify the role of human influence on climate in a specific weather event. We are now looking at accelerating that whole process, because once you've agreed on the method you're using, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The actual time it takes to actually do the calculations is not that long.
The developing science of attribution means scientists will have to completely reevaluate how they talk about extreme weather. Because terms like 500-year floods and 100-year droughts, terms that are supposed to indicate the frequency of a hazardous event, are becoming less and less helpful as frequencies keep changing. And it also means that in a few months, scientists should be able to explain the relationship between this cold snap and climate change. And projecting further into the future, it's entirely possible that we will soon hear scientists make these links as these events are happening.
We should be able to do this much faster, but in my view, in the long term, this should be part of the duties of the Weather Service. It's no longer enough for the Weather Service just to predict the weather. They should be in the business of explaining it as well.
Cow farts.
So this World Weather Attribution, this is an organization that emerged around 2014 and 15. And they are involved in attributing these events to climate change. And you heard this fellow in the last clip say, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That is him saying exactly what you said before.
We know that it's climate change.
We know that it's climate change. All you have to do now is say it.
Who funds the World Weather Attribution org? Asking AI this. Receives funding from the Grantham Foundation, the European Climate Foundation, the Bezos Earth Foundation. Historically, it's received project-specific money. For example, an early African-Asian risk awareness project was jointly funded by Wendy and Eric Schmidt. And the UK's Department of International Development, which is the UK's version of USAID, USAID, as you can imagine. So Jeff Bezos is apparently funding that, a lot of that.
This is basically the entity that houses that algorithm that the guy in the clip was talking about was already defined. They use this defined methodology to say this event was caused by climate change, and here's the justification. We can do it as the event is happening. Yep. Was it weather? Yep. Is it climate? Absolutely. Is it due to human-caused climate change? Certainly. Look, the math says so.
You won't believe this, but one of the news outlets that quotes the WAA most often is the Washington Post. I wonder why. I wonder if there's some common ownership interest there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right. Well, enough about the weather. Let's do actually in the clip custodian folder, we have a well, do we want to go, let's see, how do we want to take this? Do you have anything domestic you want to get to?
I do. Yeah, there's just a couple of different segments in here.
I think we should pivot to the surveillance state and let's listen to the Smirkonish interview on Flock.
Okay. I'm for it. Flock, DFlock. So Smirkonish had the founder of DFlock on to challenge him, to really, really push his buttons and say, why is he so concerned about Flock cameras when they do so much good? And it was basically, well, you should have a listen. You have to really.
Well, this is Michael Smirkonish, by the way.
Yeah, the crazy eyes Smirkonish.
The game of I Spy just got a lot more technical. That's thanks to Flock cameras, a nationwide network of license plate readers used by thousands of law enforcement agencies. The cameras scan license plates and they record vehicles as they pass. The company has contracts with 7,000 law enforcement agencies. That means 40% of departments in the United States. Police say the technology has helped find missing people, stolen cars, and violent crime suspects. In Georgia recently, Flock was credited with helping in the rescue of a 2-year-old child in 15 minutes after the mother's car was stolen with the child in the back seat.
Good thing. It helped save that child.
Do you know what happens when most of the time when carjackings happen and they realize there's a kid in the back seat?
What do they do?
They abandon the car because they're not out for a kidnapping charge.
Right.
And 15 minutes says as much.
Yeah.
This was not a car chase that ended in 15 minutes.
You're not my dad? Oh, shit.
Oh.
Okay. What are the critics saying about Flock? Here we go.
But critics see something else, something far more troubling: mass surveillance, a system capable of tracking the movements of ordinary Americans. And things took a creepy turn when police officers were accused of using Flock cameras to track exes, family members, and friends, and other people who had nothing to do with a criminal investigation. One woman lamented that she did not understand how law enforcement, her ex-boyfriend, seemed to know where she was all the time, whether she was out with friends or out on an errand. She said that she felt she was being watched, and when she pressed her ex about it, he admitted to using Flock to track her. In another instance, a Texas cop is accused of searching license plate cameras nationwide for a woman who got an abortion. These are just a few of the growing number of documented abuses. Flock Safety is changing the rules governing who can search the network, and just this week rolled out new police auditing and accountability controls. The company said that the new tools are designed to intervene before misuse becomes recurring and or widespread, rather than simply documenting misuse after the fact. Flock CEO says the guardrails can also help address surveillance worries.
There you go. Everything's solved.
Yes, it's a perfect company now.
Yeah. So now we need to bring on the founder of DFlock, the guy who maps the Flock cameras, or set up a website where people can map the Flock cameras, and see what he thinks about these changes and why he's so concerned about, stuff if he's not doing anything wrong. Here we go.
We're going to give him a good flocking.
That's right.
Some people have been mapping that network. My next guest is Will Freeman. He's the founder of DFlock. He created a crowdsourced map so that people can see just how many of these cameras are watching from the roads around them. Okay, Will, thank you for being here. I note that you live in Boulder, Colorado. I read this in the Times coverage. It says 31 cameras cut motor vehicle theft by 34.5%. So my question to you, is there any amount of crime reduction that would cause you to say the trade-off is worth it?
Well, so I don't believe a lot of the claims about crime reduction, because crime has been trending down nationwide in cities that have flock cameras and cities that don't have flock cameras. So I would need to see more evidence of that to actually trust that it works.
Okay.
Very straightforward answer.
A little parry there. Like it.
Yeah, pretty good. Not a complete refutation, but a good parry, as you say. But the statistics are one thing, but what about the high-profile cases?
How about the other well-publicized instances, like the Florida man who threatened a mass killing event, or the would-be assassin of President Trump, and the role that Flock played in tracking? I'm talking about the guy.
Wait a second. So, do you see the escalation ladder here?
Yeah. It's carjackings to the guy that almost killed the president.
Right. Do you hate crime reduction? Do you love crime? Do you hate the president? Do you want to see him assassinated? Do you hate babies? Do you want to see them abducted and not recovered?
I don't understand you, Will. Why do you love crime so much?
Why do you love crime, Will? Are you hiding something?
Exactly. Here we go.
and the role that flock played in tracking. I'm talking about the guy on the golf course. I mean, there have been a number of instances. I just referenced one of them, the kid, thank God, who was brought back to his mother. Your thought on those is what?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good that they're able to capture criminals. What I'm mostly worried about is the side effects, because the cameras mostly capture innocent people and occasionally capture criminals.
Boom. That's a good argument.
That's acceptable collateral damage. And Will has to realize this, that the people who are for flock, they're okay with that. Well, if it could stop one bad guy, then what does it matter if it captures where you're going, if you got nothing to hide?
I always say that too.
What do you mean the Fourth Amendment? What is that? Here you are talking about rights. I'm talking about safety.
You know, I was talking about this with central bank digital currency a couple of years ago, I think before the podcast. And I was against it. And the guy's like, but why? And I was saying, well, what if you already bought your one loaf of bread and you need 2 loaves of bread, but you can't buy it because you already bought your one allotted loaf of bread? He's like, but that's not reality. I'm like, now. It's not reality now. You know, it's like people think of, in this current environment, it's fine. But what happens when we...
Well, you can't ask people to have foresight.
I know. That's the thing, is I'm often accused of slippery slope arguments. But
and I think that's why RFK Jr.'s strategy of just a basic appeal to rights in the Constitution is the correct way to go about this.
Yeah.
You appeal to the rights afforded us in the Constitution, and if people want to say that our rights aren't worth whatever ill effect they perceive, then let them make that argument.
Well, there's no consistency, Your Honor, in the media. You know, it's like the claims of climate change. Like the clip that was highlighted in the Vice part where she said, oh, it's cold, and people are saying, where's climate change? You know, they're just as selective as that as they are
arguments.
With the Constitution. You know, the Constitution only matters when it helps their argument. Otherwise, you know, screw your freedoms.
Right, exactly. Well, let's continue with the high-profile cases.
Side effects, be specific.
In the process
we did finish that.
Okay, all right, I got you.
These are side effects.
Side effects, be specific.
In the process of putting these ALPRs up and setting up the system, in order to search it, you have to record everyone who drives by. That's mostly innocent people because not tons of criminals are driving down the streets. Some of them are, and most of them are not criminals. It creates a database of where everyone has been for generally the last 30 days. A searchable database. You can search by license plate, by make, model, color, if you have any dents or roof racks or bumper stickers. So it creates, like a searchable database of where you've been and where you are, approximately. The more cameras there are, the more dangerous it is. Those are the side effects.
Okay, I guess it's time for me to play the card of, well, don't abduct kids and don't steal cars, and you've got nothing to worry about.
Yep. I mean, that's the argument. If you're a law-abiding citizen, what do you care that somebody's looking over your shoulder? Why does that offend you? Why aren't you comfortable with being surveilled constantly? Why aren't you comfortable being an animal in the zoo? I'm comfortable being an animal in the zoo. Why aren't you comfortable? Don't you love the bars? Don't you love the bucket of food that's brought every day to us? Don't you love this? Why do you keep talking about this ideal of running free? Why don't you love the zoo?
Right. And meanwhile, people in England can get arrested for offending somebody.
Yes. Now, I'm interested in this last clip, the Free Press having a pro-flock PSA.
Yeah.
This should be good.
I heard half of it, so let's have a listen.
Do you ever feel like you're being watched? That's the panic behind a new fear sweeping across America. People are freaked out about surveillance from our employers, our nanny cams, and our phones watching our every move. And right now, this anxiety is being taken out with electric saws and cans of spray paint on tools used by law enforcement to keep us all safe. The target? flock safety cameras. In upstate New York, someone cut down a flock safety camera with an electric saw. In Oakland, California, another was covered in paint. And in Idaho, someone rammed one with their truck. And in good old Florida, a man just sits in his lawn chair with a cardboard held up for the lens. Since January, roughly 23 cities have canceled their contracts or shut off their flock camera over Fourth Amendment concerns. There's even an open source intelligence website, DFlock, that's finding these cameras so people know exactly where to vandalize them. Here's what's...
Did you hear that? I heard that the first time.
So that people know exactly where to vandalize them.
Yeah, that's the entire point of DFlock, is to say, this is where you need to take your buzzsaw and cut them down.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Actually under attack. In 2025 alone, the system helped locate 10,000 missing people, about 27 people a day, or about one every hour. Over 40% of agencies said Flock helped recover over half of the stolen vehicles in their jurisdiction. In Indiana, an infant abducted at a shopping center was found in under 2 hours. In Ohio, a missing girl was located in under 30 minutes. And this is the tool that people are treating like the enemy. It is fair to have concerns about how companies use and track our data, but that's not what these cameras are for. To be blunt, they're not interested in you, unless you're a kidnapper, a thief, or someone who intends to do harm.
Yeah, you loser. You loser. You care about the Fourth Amendment. Nobody cares about you, loser.
Right.
It's so easy to tell when you're over target with these people.
Right. All they're going to do is spy on me all you want. Are
you a kidnapper?
I'm watching The Office and eating too many chips, some stuff like that.
Well, according to our surveillance records, it doesn't appear that you've cried for Palestinian children today.
Right. Right. You have a hate symbol in front of your house. That's literally the flag of the country we're in right now.
Yes, exactly. Sir, we're not here to engage in semantics. Yeah. Could you just please explain the symbol?
Please come with us.
How do you feel about the Fourth Amendment?
Sorry. Do you realize that those 13 stripes represent the original 13 colonies? Yes. And do you realize that slavery was legal in some of those 13 colonies? Come with us, sir.
Just follow us. Oh boy. It's fun to joke about.
It is indeed. It is
but
indeed.
It's real. To turn a phrase.
Did you see some of the polling that came out about Democrats' view of socialism? They love it.
The only polling I saw was about the midterms and everybody being on their high horse about a Democratic win in the House for sure, but the Senate potentially.
Well, Clip Studying did poll this segment about Andy Bashir. It's really, it's like 7 clips of Bashir pretty much giving a sales pitch for why he's the guy.
I want to hear it.
Okay. I'll play the first one. This is 58% of Democrats love socialism.
So we begin with Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Bashir, who joins us from the capital city of Frankfurt. Good morning, Governor. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So our new CBS News poll out this morning finds 58% of Democrats have a positive view of socialism, and just 32% have a positive view of capitalism. What do you make of that?
What I make of it is that people are struggling. They're struggling because the cost of groceries is too high. The cost of gas is too high. It's too hard to see a doctor, and when you do, the cost of that is too high as well. They're not asking for a lot. They just want to go to work, make a good living, be able to raise their kids, buy a home before they're 40, take their family on the same vacation they went on as kids. And right now, they're seeing a system that doesn't work for them. Now, I believe socialism is a failed experiment, but I do believe that we need to get results for the American people. And I think when you look at Democratic governors, you see those results. I've been proud to create more jobs than any other governor in our history. The average wage of a new job in Kentucky this year is over $32 an hour. We're building affordable housing in Western Kentucky and in Eastern Kentucky on top of abandoned coal mines with solar panels on the top so they're affordable to live in too. People just want to see results, want to believe that life can get better.
Stump speech. Effectively.
Of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's an interesting case because he's a red state Democratic governor of Kentucky, so he's got to have that measured approach. Socialism is a failed experiment. I believe he's actively mixing up communism and socialism because that's no longer the talking point from the Democrats about socialism.
Yeah, are you saying that all of Europe has failed?
Yes.
I don't disagree, but
you're right there. Yeah. So we'll continue. This is abolishing the Electoral College. Is Andy Beshear for it or against it? We'll find out together.
The poll also finds rank-and-file Democrats want leaders to be pushing for making big changes, not smaller ones, even if they're easier to do. Also says they want to feel like the party is, as you said, fighting for them. What is then...
Yeah, I think people...
Well, what I'm curious about is given they're looking for big ideas, what would be your biggest, boldest idea that you're promoting these days?
Well, I'll give you two, because people want you to fix the darn economy, and they want you to fix the darn government. On the economy, it is time for an aspirational investment in housing that can bring down the cost of especially first-time home ownership. People can actually see that progress all over the country. We ought to tie the federal dollars to speed. You've got to break ground, and you've got to do it quickly. Get through the overregulation and the NIMBYism. But I tell you what, people also think this government is broken. So a fix the darn government constitutional amendment, it is time. It should outlaw partisan redistricting and enshrine part of the Voting Rights Act right there in the Constitution. It should create term limits for Congress and the Supreme Court. No more gaming those appointments. It should also overturn Citizens United, and I think call for direct elections of the president and the vice president. That could actually make things work. A big idea that would, yes, change government, but in a way enshrined in the Constitution where people would know it's going to get better.
There you go. Kentucky, your governor, Andy Beshear, wants the people of California and New York to dictate your life.
well, they're the same Americans.
Right. Yeah, how much, Serpent says, how much nothing can you pack in 30 seconds? Pretty effectively correct.
Well, so much so that there's another clip about the Electoral College.
Yeah, here we go.
I didn't realize you support abolishing the Electoral College. If you're saying direct election of the president and vice president.
Yeah, I've said it a number of times, and it's because in Kentucky, we will never see a candidate for president or vice president unless they're from here. Why? Because people just expect that it'll go one way or the other. It's the idea that someone would get elected not just knowing about 7 states, but having to earn votes all over the United States. I certainly think it's time.
What?
Oh boy. Well, that issue.
What did he say? About we'll never see a president, we'll never elect a president here unless he's from here? What?
We'll never, you'll never see a candidate stumping in Kentucky is what he meant, I think.
Oh, I gotcha. That makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a red state. That's the point of the Electoral College. And one of the biggest misnomers that the Democrats always throw out is, oh, we're the popular party. We always win the popular party. And it's because of the Electoral College strategy that, what's his name? Not Dick Cheney. Karl Rove. He invented the strategy of going after the Electoral College and stopped pissing money away in states that they were going to lose for sure and started focusing on solidifying and winning the states that were on the fringe. That's the whole game. It's the political strategy.
Yes, and he appeals to an external locus of control here, which I know you just had a shimmer down your spine when I said that.
Oh yeah.
But Kentucky could do. He, as the governor of Kentucky, could push for Kentucky to do something about that. Kentucky could split its electoral college votes, which it does not do at the moment. Winner take all. So there is action he could take as the governor of Kentucky, but no, he wants to use a misnomer to try to motivate voters on a national scale.
Yep. Well,
for his presidential campaign, no doubt.
Well, and this is what's interesting because Sam S. of Beargrass had cued us in on this a long time ago. He said, look at Beshear. I think he's got the potential to be a good candidate for president. And he said this like 2 years ago. And now here we are, running for president.
Speaking of presidential candidates from Kentucky, you told our colleague Aaron Navarro recently your decision on whether to run for president comes after your role as chairman of the Democratic Governors Association ends in December. You're traveling the country trying to get Democrats elected into governorships. You're appearing on programs like this one to get your name out there. I'm curious, what's left to decide?
Well, I haven't made any final decision on that, but I am traveling the country because we're going to elect Democratic governors in places that people aren't expecting. We're up in Iowa and Ohio. We're fighting hard in Georgia and Nevada. We have great candidates. Even places like Alabama, we saw Democratic primary turnout double. I've never seen that before. So I'm excited about what we're seeing. For me, I just refuse to leave a broken country to my kids or to anyone else's. We cannot allow Donald Trump's presidency to be normalized, for people to think that's the way that it's supposed to be. And whatever my role is moving forward, I just want to make sure that we can bring this country back together and then get results for the American people. The two biggest challenges we face are the level of division and the belief that the American dream is no longer real. We've got to make sure we address them both.
Okay.
I love the Democrats' rhetoric about the American dream. It's always just prime material.
They want to live in a house. Let's give them some houses. And let's bring them together.
Okay. I think we should skip ahead to maybe the Medicare for All clip. I think that would be interesting coming from a potential Democratic candidate.
Sure.
And then the Mitch McConnell clip to round us out here.
I want to take you to an issue that animates the left of the Democratic Party especially, but something you also reference, and that is health care, but more specifically the concept of Medicare for all. Back in 2019, you suggested that that can mean 100 different things in 100 different ways, and that ultimately in your state, every Kentuckian needs access to affordable, accessible health care, and I believe the private sector often provides that type of health care. Do you still believe that, or has your thinking shifted at all on whether or not some kind of more government-backed public option should be out there in a bigger way?
Well, like I said, I'm a pragmatist. My goal is to get results in the next month and in the next year. And what I see right now is a healthcare system where costs are spiraling. And so the solutions that I see that government can participate in are direct negotiation of drug prices, given that Medicaid and Medicare are pretty much the biggest purchasers that are out there. They should secure a lower price and open that up to everyone, covered on any type of plan or no type of plan at all.
That's a great trick he used there. You know, he painted him in the corner and said, that's the private sector. It should supply that. That's what he said. And he comes out and says, I'm a pragmatist, which is basically saying what Francesca Hong was saying a couple of weeks ago of, you know, people can evolve on the issues. And he's saying, right. I'm looking right now at the best possible options, and it's this. And he completely bypasses this, trying to paint me in a corner of saying, well, you said private sector.
Well, this is the first unified narrative to come out of the Democratic Party in a little bit, and it's in effect, woke one was crazy.
Yeah, they're trying to get away from all of that. You know that 10 years where we indoctrinated you with that race stuff and said, you know, all this BS and Black Lives Matter. Well, we've evolved. We just want to help people, every people, and not talk about discrimination 24/7. Because that doesn't win elections, as we found out.
We've learned. We've evolved.
We've evolved on the matter.
I think that there
really
is
like winning elections.
Right. Well, if that's true, then they should run Kamala Harris again on a different messaging platform and see how that works out for them. Just put your money where your mouth is.
Role for government to bring down prices in healthcare, and they can do so quickly. We also need more transparency. Now, the idea that one hospital charges something twice as much as another hospital in the same town, but you might not know, is a problem for consumers. It shouldn't be like buying a car, a sticker price where you're not sure exactly how much it's going to cost. It should be open so people can make the right decisions and get the best quality healthcare at the best price. but let me say I do believe that health care is a basic human right. And so I'm willing to have conversations with anyone who agrees with that. You know, in my faith, Jesus said a doctor is for the sick, and look at what Republicans are doing. Their big, ugly bill could shutter 35 rural hospitals in Kentucky, fire 20,000 health care workers, but more than that, create a system where a pregnant woman in Kentucky might have to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours just to give birth. That's really wrong.
Or get an abortion.
And Jesus said, look at what the Republicans are doing.
Yeah, look at what they're doing. He's making this woman drive across states to get an abortion.
Oh, boy. I love this, no exploration of healthcare as a human right and the implications of that. Because socialism is a failed experiment, and healthcare is a human right.
Yeah. Two things.
Two things. Completely distinct, not related.
All right. Well, has he heard from Mitch McConnell? This is the next question.
Anyone?
I don't know. Are they his Asian wife? Because probably not. Here we go.
I got to ask you in our remaining moments here, you have been writing letters and trying to get updates on the status of Senator Mitch McConnell. Have you heard anything back from his office on how he's doing?
I've heard absolutely nothing back from Mitch McConnell. And while I do hope that he is getting better, I've known him my entire life. I wish him no harm. I actually wish him good health. His boss are the people of Kentucky. And this is why the Senate, the Republican-controlled Senate, feels so broken. They feel like they're not accountable to anyone. All he needs to do is call into this show for 2 minutes, or Fox News for 2 minutes, or do a video for 2 minutes to the people he's supposed to serve. But you know what? He absolutely refuses to do it. And then John Thune. As the leader of the Senate, you've got a duty to make sure all of your senators have the capacity to serve. And what is he saying? Not my job. That's not surprising. None of them will do their job right now and stand up to a president that is running over the Constitution at every turn.
Well, we'll take a call from Senator McConnell if he'd like to make it. We appreciate you being here this morning. Sounds like you're thinking about running for president for sure. Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky, thanks again.
So it's a level-headed fella. I enjoy this clip that Clip Custodian added in here. And this is from the 2023 election for governor, where Andy Beshear ran as a Democrat against a black Republican. And of course, yes, Serpent points out Mitch McConnell could just send $1 to the MMO show for proof of life. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be too good. So, 2023, Andy Beshear runs against a black Republican in Kentucky for governor. And this is a radio ad, so it's a little bit low-quality radio ad, but it's pretty mind-boggling, when you listen to it. I laugh pretty hard.
What's up, Kentucky? It's election time, and all skin folks ain't kin folk. Over the past few years...
Did you hear that?
Yeah, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Yep.
Time, and all skin folks ain't kin folk. Over the past few years, we've taken to the streets to demand racial justice, to demand health care, and the right to make decisions about our body. And now Uncle Daniel Cameron is threatening to take us backward.
Uncle Daniel Cameron.
The same man who refused to seek justice for Breonna Taylor now wants to run our whole state. We can't let that happen. We won't let that happen. On November 7th, vote Andy Beshear for governor.
I'm upset that they cut off the who it was paid for by. But, yeah, there you go. Just because he's black doesn't mean you should vote for him because you're black. Where was that in 2008? I wonder. Apparently Obama was kinfolk. Okay. So that is Andy Beshear in there. Trying to think. What else you got?
Let's see here. Definitely wanted to do the Beshear stuff. Hero, Heat Wave, MMR. We may go to the MMR, but let's talk about the economy because that's something that's getting some play right now. We've had some consumer spending data came out. If you go to the economy folder, I want to bury the lead literally here. So So I'm going to play the clips out of order. The first one is going to be the signals that are discussed later in the segment. And then I want you to tell me if the lead is going to paint the picture of an improving or a deteriorating economy. Okay, so signals first.
July's data also shows restaurant spending saw a slight increase. Families often cut back on eating out to save money. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there's some of it may have been the World Cup impacts, people going out to watch the final game. So I don't think people were surprised to see that number up a little bit. I think what's been interesting to watch is hobby spending, people spending on books, on sporting equipment, on chess sets. That's actually been one of the bright spots for the past year. I call it mini splurges. In this economy between the tariffs and the high gas prices, people need to do something to feel good about themselves. And so one of the encouraging stories is they're doing the book club, they're getting together to play the sports together to try to find some cheer.
Yeah, I'd like to see some data on how much parents are spending on Robux, because there's a lot going into Robux in my household. But when it comes to school shopping, school's around the corner. Target, for example, says that 95% of its prices for school supplies are at or below last year's levels.
Okay, so our signals are more eating out,
more hobby spending,
school
supply prices are down.
School supply prices are level, if not down. So when we play this lead, is this going to be a positive or a negative report on the economy?
Well, based on how the lady said, it's the World Cup, probably. I'm going to go ahead and say it's
that
negative.
one German guy that was over here. You saw him.
Yeah, they drink Boston Dry, a Boston Lager. That's hard to do, all right? I'm going to say negative.
They're calling it the White Swan. Let's listen to the lead now that we've heard the signals.
New data from the Commerce Department shows Americans cut their spending in July by the biggest amount in more than a year. Retail sales fell 0.6% last month, following a slight gain in June. That drop in spending is raising concern among some economists about the resiliency of consumers as Americans respond to rising gas prices and lingering inflation. Joining me now is Heather Long. She is the chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Federal data also shows inflation declined slightly in July as gas and grocery prices slipped. When you look at figures like this, what are your biggest takeaways for everyday Americans?
I mean, it's tough out there, and you can see the fatigue from American consumers. Part of the reason the July data was so disappointing is that Amazon Prime Day and Target Circle deals and those Walmart Plus deals, they happened in June this year instead of July. So there was definitely less spending on electronics and some of those items that people try to scoop up on Prime Day. But if you really step back and look at the bigger picture, since the war in Iran started, inflation is outpacing wage growth. People are literally getting squeezed financially in America. And you can see that there's been a pullback at the grocery store. More people are turning to credit cards and dipping into savings. And that's why the outlook is definitely for a little bit of a consumer slowdown heading into back to school and ultimately into the holidays.
Yeah, and usually when it comes time for Prime Day, I hear a lot more people talking about it. I didn't hear as much chatter around Prime Day this past summer.
I will say that last point, Prime Day did stink. There was no really good deals on anything.
I didn't feel like it was promoted very well by Amazon.
No. You mean Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post and funder of climate change?
Yeah. Buy more cheap stuff.
Right.
This is interesting little play they did here because they're concerned about a decrease in spending in this month, but Prime Day was moved up a month this year to June instead of July. So you had an increase in the month of Prime Day and then a decrease now. The same relation that you saw last year, but offset by a month. So your year-to-date data is also, it looks worse, but it can be adjusted by, basically instead of a seasonality adjustment, you should have a prime day adjustment in those figures. But 0.6% of a percent is concerning. Now, I've been having these thoughts about the economy for a while, where people, and we've done this too, with the events that have been going on, people expect the economy to be worse, and they look at gas prices and they see that, and I think conflate that with a worse economy. But if you strip out gas prices and energy inflation, the economy actually looks pretty resilient. Now, that's both reassuring and concerning, because there's only so much pressure an economy can take. And if you appear resilient until you don't, then you have a very traumatic event that shifts your economy from resilient to deteriorating, instead of that happening over a period of time. So it's a bit of a conundrum, and I think you've with Scott Bessent in leadership, and we've talked about some of the things that Scott Bessent has been doing in conjunction with the kinetic wars, and we saw one recently with the U.S. bailing out Japan.
Yeah, 5 to 10 billion in yen.
Yes, and the reason that the U.S. did that was to keep the long end of the Treasury bill interest rate from increasing in the U.S., because if Japan couldn't afford to buy U.S. Treasuries, which they are the largest holder of such Treasuries, if they couldn't afford to buy U.S. Treasuries, then the rate on Treasuries would have to increase at the auctions. So that was a very necessary move to keep the economy sturdy in the U.S., which if we're having to take measures like that internationally, one spark, one flashpoint could really bring economic, I don't want to say wreckage, but it could turn out to be something that wouldn't typically be a big deal, could cause a domino effect and be a big deal in an economy that seems sturdy but is definitely on the edge given the global happenings and situations right now with Strait of Hormuz and Russia, Ukraine, and all the conflicts going on around the world, and the supply chain bottlenecks that have the potential to be exacerbated at a moment's notice.
Well, Japan's probably hurting from the Hormuz situation as well, isn't it?
Well, no doubt.
Yeah. So,
and we got a report yesterday that China's economy was looking pretty bad, which I had guessed as much a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. We probably talked about it before, but they're like 401ks are tied around real estate development or something. It's structured a lot different, and they've been having a lot of issues with their funding for these real estate development projects. So a lot of buildings left unfinished in China. Yep. So it's interesting.
All right. Last clip I have in the economy folder is titled Concerns, and it's just going to be the concerns of this economist.
What are your biggest concerns as we head into fall and holiday spending?
There's just no relief coming for households right now, and that's what's hard. You just see that people are already squeezed. You see gas prices. We've never had gas prices at $4 this late in the summer. Normally they start to fall a good bit, and that's just not happening right now. And so that's what really worries me, is people have been stretched for a long time, and there's nothing else coming. The tax cuts have already happened. The tax refunds have already happened. other than the stock market gaining a lot more, most middle class and moderate income Americans aren't going to be helped by that.
Right. Well, hopefully we see some sort of relief in the coming months.
Some sort of relief, hopefully. I'm checking my children's Trump accounts right now, seeing how they're doing. 122. Oh, they're down. They were 136 the other day. Damn.
They're never going to make it.
Nope.
I think with the trending up of the 30-year, and it's only logical that it would trend up slightly after we had to bail out our largest treasury buyer. But with that trend up, you have an increased cost of borrowing that the U.S. government has to undertake, and therefore an increased cost to service the debt of the nation. I'm starting to doubt my prediction that we get pre-midterm Trump checks.
Already burning the candle at both ends?
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit of a stretch, unless we have some major economic event, and then what does it matter?
Are you saying we should nuke Iran?
Here's $1,000. Go buy a stick of butter if you can get it.
Yeah, it'll be like those old African memes of the stacks of money being rubber banded together for bricks for children. Hyperinflation.
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility that we actually nuke Iran if they end up being the thorn in the side that anyone could have guessed they would be?
I don't know. Maybe. Tactical nukes. I could see one country doing it for sure.
No, but they're out of the war.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, we're out. It's election season.
This was fun.
Yep. Beaver Cheeks. Leave it to Beaver. Caroline, leave it to Beaver Cheeks. Out as
He's out.
Press secretary. Here's a little rundown on that.
Spend time with family.
Her infant baby.
President Trump announcing just moments ago that Caroline Leavitt will be leaving her role as the White House press secretary at the end of this month. The president taking
leave it
through social, saying that Leavitt will now serve as one of his, quote, top outside advisors. Joining us now is CNN White House correspondent Elena Train. Elena, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, look, I think this came as a surprise to many people, Pamela, and that's partly because this role, particularly under President Donald Trump, had been a tough one to fill. I'd remind you that Leavitt is one of the closest advisors. The president did say this in his post, but she is one of the closest advisors that he has. She's part of that very small group of really loyal people who have been with the president on the 2024 campaign trail. She also worked for him, I should note, during his first term when he was first in office, and has continued to be one of those people that goes into very sensitive meetings, is one of few people that actually knows what is going on at high levels in the West Wing. So it's a loss for the president. I'd also note the timing of this, which I think is pretty crucial. The White House is losing their chief messenger just 3 months before the midterm elections. Now, as for the reasoning for her departure, both the president and Leavitt, who did post her own lengthy statement on social media, said it was because of her family. She did give birth recently to a daughter. She gave birth to her on May 1st. She only took about a month of maternity leave before returning. And I'll tell you, I have been speaking with some of my sources. When she was on maternity leave, the president, even then, was still frequently calling her and at times was asking when she was going to come back. So I think that just highlights the demanding role of press secretary for her to juggle with her 2 young children. She did confirm that the president had asked her, Pamela, to stay on as a top advisor to her. Of course, that would be a role that would be outside of the White House. It does seem that she's agreed to that, but it's a loss for this White House, particularly at a time, as I mentioned, when they're going to be in a very difficult period on messaging around the midterm elections with everything going on with the Iran war. To lose a messenger like Caroline. One last thing I want to say is I've been catching up with some staffers here since the news broke. It's not immediately clear, at least to some of the staffers I spoke with, who would actually replace her. So we're staying tuned for that. When she was out on maternity leave for the month of June, there wasn't really a real replacement. At times you had people like Marco Rubio or the vice president.
All right, this lady doesn't breathe, apparently. Yeah, exactly. One more thing I want to say, and then she says 20 different things. That's, I think, a trait of one of the sexes. But Carolyn Leavitt, she's out. I think you were shooting around in the chat talking about how quickly until she gets a show at Fox or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know who's coming in though. I don't know who has that kind of chutzpah. They might get Kareem Jean-Pierre in, I think, for this presidency.
Well, yeah, right. Who's this aide that Ossoff is attacking?
Natalie something. Natalie Aide. First name's Natalie. That's all I know.
Natalie
Harp.
Okay. I'm going to see if Natalie Harp has a PR background. Because if she's been spending a lot of time close to the president, he could be coaching her, getting her ready for the role.
It's possible. She worked at One American News as a presenter. A far-right television channel. Come on. If One American News is far-right, then color us Nazis. Let's see. Yeah, One American News, and so she's got to have some sort of communications degree. Point Loma Nazarene University. I've never heard of it.
Well, look at the prediction markets. Is there a prediction market for who's going to be the next press secretary?
Oh, damn. I always forget about that. It's good. Press sec. Nope. Okay, who will Trump pick as the next press secretary? Alina Habba is leading the race right now with 23%. Margot Martin at 12%. Anna Kelly at 17%. And Natalie Harp, 11%. That's according to Polymarket. Alina Habba. Let's see. She's the favored right now. I could see Trump picking her. She's a pretty lady.
Habba was the second runner. She was the runner-up when Levitt was originally picked. And it looks like Scott Jennings was considered as well.
Are you mumbling?
No, I may have been away from the mic.
Oh, gotcha.
I've got my phone plugged in over here, so I've got a lot of cords going. They're crisscrossing.
Yeah. Elena Habba. She's pretty enough that the joke of Elena Hubba Hubba could be made on a late night show for sure.
Yeah, but
oh my God,
better pun than to harp on the media.
Have you seen her in a low cut shirt?
No.
Yeah.
Habba?
Oh yeah.
Elena Hubba Hubba.
Elena Baba.
Oh, she's the one that everyone was making fun of a few days ago.
You think they're trying to
She's real tall, real lanky.
Taint her before she gets the spot?
Yes. I think she's the one that was being made fun of. She has very full cheeks.
Full cheek. That is the Trump does prefer the full cheeks, man.
He
loves
does.
that.
He does.
He likes a ruddy cheeks. That's what he's all about. He's got a type for press secretary. Man. What's the Hubble? Is it the Hubble telescope? I think there could be something there with Elena Hubble, you know. Hubbles. It's just a big telescope. It's a boob reference. I don't know. Maybe it won't catch on. We'll workshop it.
Okay, all right. You workshop it.
Okay. I'm trying to think what else I want to play, if anything.
Let's see. I'm looking for Elena Habba news. Habba news. Let's see. A federal judge ruled Thursday Habba was unlawfully serving as U.S. Attorney for New Jersey.
That's where I've heard her name before. Yeah, that was a while ago. Elena Habba. I wonder what her ethnicity is, if that's her maiden name or not. Career. Come on, get to the personal life. Personal life. Lena Haba has described herself as a devout Catholic. Hey, she is culturally an Arab American. Okay, that makes sense with the Haba. Haba was married to lawyer Matthew Ayat for 8 years. They have 2 children, Chloe and Luke. Okay, so she's a white Arab with those children names. In 2020, she married businessman and entrepreneur Greg Rubin. Not Dave Rubin, Greg Rubin. They live in Bernardsville, New Jersey. Rubin is the CEO of Center Park, a New York City-based parking management company. Oh, exciting. Haba has had a stepchild from Rubin's previous marriage. In February 2026, Haba quietly divorced Rubin and moved into a mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, close to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Oh, I see. Now this is the Monica Lewinsky woman that's coming in. This is what's going to end Trump's presidential career in disgrace.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
You think she's a plant?
Possibly. She could be an implant. You never know. That's the thing. Did you see O'Keefe in Minnesota this week?
No, I didn't.
So O'Keefe dressed up like a Muslim for their primary elections.
Oh, I did see this. I didn't realize it was O'Keefe.
Yeah, well, guess what? He could be in trouble. You know, this news segment does a good thing of highlighting what he was showing him for and then saying why he's actually a bad man for doing such so. Say you're a bad man. So we'll play it.
An undercover video could land a handful of activists in legal trouble. Members of the group, once known as Project Veritas, pretended to be Minnesota voters during the primary. CBS News Minnesota reporter Esme Murphy has more.
The video begins with members of the Florida group now calling themselves the Citizens Justice League in what they call Muslim costumes, using fake accents and claiming to be Minnesota voters.
It's about the vouching program, yeah? If I vouch for them? Yes. Registered, but they are not registered? That's okay, that's fine. Can I bring 5 more from up to 8 people?
Minnesota's 53-year-old voucher law is intended to help people who just moved here vote. It allows a registered voter to vouch that someone lives where they say they do. The law does not allow people to impersonate real Minnesota voters.
So the law in Minnesota is a guy can come in, a registered voter, and say, hey, I'm vouching for these people. They are who they say they are, and they live where they do, so they can vote too. That's insane. And one of the reasons why Minnesota looks the way it does. But we'll continue.
The vote, the name is William.
The last name?
Pomerantz.
And does that look correct?
Can you say your name for us?
Will Pomerantz.
Your name is Will Pomerantz.
Yes.
This is the real William Pomerantz, who on Election Day kept getting odd messages.
I actually had a student contact me that had showed me what was online about my identity being misrepresented. So that was pretty much a shock.
The group members did not go ahead with voting illegally.
Kudos to the poll workers. They reported it afterwards, and frankly, I got to vote that evening without a problem. So, the voting process in my mind works. So
the name is William.
The last name?
Pomerantz.
But this man, whose real name is James O'Keefe, may have put himself in legal jeopardy.
It's illegal in the state of Minnesota to impersonate another voter, and this is apparently what O'Keefe did.
Schultz, Pomerantz, and the Secretary of State all say the video shows the system worked.
But as I read the law, you can't impersonate another registered voter, and that's exactly what they appear to have filmed themselves doing.
Our thanks to Esme Murphy for that report.
Yes, thank you. So it's perfectly legal to say, hey, these people live in my district and they can vote. Do they have names? No. But they live there. But you can't say you're somebody else. So that's a line too far for William Pomerantz. I don't know. everything sucks. The fact that we're
did they let him register?
I don't think so. I don't know what happened. I think he was just kind of showing that you can say people, you can vouch for people and they get to vote. I don't think he actually voted because I think that would be a crime. But they're saying him impersonating William Pomerant was a crime, so he might get in trouble. But it was funny. They dressed up like Muslims. One guy was wearing the full-on burqa. It was pretty funny. He did not vote. That's good. All right. Well, that's about all I have. You have anything you want to cover?
Let's see. I know I've got... Oh, yeah. I have a clip about back to school. And, everybody's going back to school now. And one thing, they're trying to rebrand this screen brain that we've discussed. We've talked about the studies that show that screen time actually degrades mental capacity and actual physical mental structure, brain structure in kids. And we've got a new terminology we're trying to apply to this to make it catch on. Popcorn brain.
Let's hear about this.
They call it popcorn brain. Doctors are seeing it more and more, and they warn it's a symptom caused by the increasing amount of time we all spend in the digital world. Screen time that has our focus and attention popping off in all directions.
That scrolling is what's actually creating the problems in your brain to be able to have real conversations with your kids, real interactions with people, dealing with the real kind of tasks that you need to do.
With the new school year already getting started, parents and kids are getting back into familiar routines. But this popcorn brain problem, doctors warn, could rob kids and parents the ability to lock in to that new routine. All right, so what is popcorn brain? Well, it's basically an addiction to digital multitasking when your attention bounces rapidly between multiple inputs on your screens. Now, here's the concern. Kids are losing interest in slower-paced, routine, real-world tasks, things like regular conversations and classroom instruction. Dr. Lee has some suggestions.
Having non-screen time built into your schedule, having times of quiet maybe where your mind can settle. You're giving yourself the opportunity to be creative and think through things in a calmer way without all of the little pings and notifications.
So I know it sounds so cliche, just have your kids cut down on screen time. Well, Dr. Lee says we as parents have to do it too and model that behavior for the kids. We need to come up with alternate activities. Don't expect the kids to just figure it out on their own. And one last thing, she says it's okay to start small. For example, establish a phone-free zone at the kitchen table, in the car. It's just one step you can take to settle down that popcorn brain.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. And really, it's timing is great because kids are heading back to school, and you're going to have to put your phones away anyway for the whole school day.
Yeah, develop good habits, start them now.
There used to be these videos on the internet of a Southern parent getting pissed off and then taking their kids' electronics and shooting it with a .45. We should do more of that.
Yeah, there were, in the same vein, there are the classic videos of the PlayStation or the Xbox getting the hammer, getting the Hillary treatment.
Yeah. It's always so funny watching the kid freak out. I'm sorry. Poof. Oh my God. My entire penis was on that thing. Oh, that's funny. Oh, you know what? I'm so glad I remembered this one. I saw this TMZ video today of a Detroit news anchor freaking out. I don't know if it was on live, but the video somehow got to the internet. And this woman has a prompter, and she has the best, frustrated white Minnesota, or I guess Michigan woman saying buried in this. But she's freaking out and loses her temper, and it's kind of funny.
I'm going to have to do that again. What's up, Trace?
I think you're in I am. I'm in Amy's script, the Amy's Angels one. There was the second thing didn't make sense, so I was just trying to fix that part. And
it's not even marked off. Like we're still working.
I know, but I didn't have time because we have to do this, so I was still reading it. See, I mean, I can't wait for you to go through them all, and then I go through them, because then I'm already getting ready by then. But this time we had to do the PSAs, so. Finish what?
What I was trying to say.
Okay, because Sean just came in here and said something about marking off. Go ahead. I don't think you are. You're walking out really angry. Jeez, oh, Pete. Can I please finish what I'm going to say? What the f***? Grow up. Hands. I'm so done with her antics, telling on me every 5 seconds. I'm done.
Did you hear her white lady saying in there? I'll play
James
it. No.
Keith?
It sounds like it could be. Here's a nice O.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
Jeez, oh, Pete, the famed Irishman. I've never heard that in my life, but I love it. I'm going to start saying that now. G's O Pete's. And that's it. That's all I have.
That's a good one. G's O Pete's. That might be the best contender we have for a title.
I think so. G's O Pete's. I'm a registered voter, and I'm saying we found the real G's O Pete's. Oh, all right, let's get out of here. This was a good show, I think. Another MMO is in the bag. Evidently, some of the older audience members are saying G's O Pete's is not that uncommon. I heard G's Louise growing up. Did I ever tell you how patriotic my mother is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a time, one time I was sick and I had a blanket over top of me and I was throwing up and she was trying to keep it on the blanket. And some of it got off of the blanket and onto the couch. And instead of getting upset, she just very loudly said, "God bless America."
Yeah. It's pretty common around here.
That's G's O Pete's for you. Yeah, Wisconsin, they're asking if we say, there are sayings in Wisconsin's. I'm trying to think of some of them. It's usually like, oh no. Jeez, oh, Pete's. Oh, that's great. My friends and I used to say cheese and rice. Ah, cheese and rice. From St. Louis, Missouri, I have been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, I've been John G. Dew.
This has been your Millennial Media Offensive. We're here every Tuesday, folks. God willing, we'll be here next Tuesday. So we'll see you next Tuesday. And an armed populace is a tough populace. Stop. Arm up. MMO. Out. Buy some guns. They're fun. Guns. We called the bubbler. So everyone made fun of the bubbler when I left Wisconsin. The bubbler. I just called it a water fountain after a while because I got sick of people saying it. But I looked it up. The Kohler Company invented the public bubbler, is what it was called. It was the first public drinking fountain in the United States. So you're all actually wrong. Suck it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A bubbler?
A water fountain?
Yeah, it's like a drinking fountain.
Yeah.
So, the history of the bubbler. Bubbler drinking fountain.
That history is very different in the North and in the South.
Well, we had...
it's a joke, but...
I know exactly what you're saying.
As we were.
I was going to say, you guys had two different types of bubblers. The bubbler drinking fountain.
An ER and an
So, there's a subreddit called In the Morning. And somebody was writing about us on that subreddit and said that sometimes our post show is better than our actual show. And I think they're talking about us talking about shit like this. The bubbler. Wow, if you type in drinking fountain on Wikipedia, bubbler is a accepted expression for it. Let's see.
Let's produce this thing.
Okay.
To the chagrin of the one guy on Reddit who enjoys the post show.
A lot of people like the post show. Bubbler is New England vernacular, according to Cotton Gin as well. Are you a hammock or hammock guy?
Hammock?
Yeah. We say hammock.
You mean the tree swing?
Yeah, the tree swing. Title lost. Title list. All right. Waiting on Jahan, spelled incorrectly. Waiting on Jahan, spelled incorrectly as well. Whole playlist of gay shit. Existential Dread, the podcast. Per my last email, Death to America. Sand Guys. Chalkboard Zang. Ping Pong Match. K Porn. 18 Folders. Meet and Random Guys. Neanderthalist. Goldilocks Zone. Honey, I Cried on the News. A Good Flocking. The Hillary Treatment. And G's O Pete's. I think G's O Pete's is good. I think that's funny. Ham hock. I said soda growing up. How about you, John?
Coke.
Oh, you're that part of the...
Everything's Coke. And if it wasn't Coke, it was a root beer.
What kind of Coke? That's what they told us growing up. That people in the South say it's a Coke. And then when you order a Coke, they ask you what kind of Coke.
Well, you order a Coke, and if they say, we got Pepsi, you say, oh, yeah, it's fine. It's Coke.
What if you wanted a Sprite?
Then you'd say, I want a Sprite. And people would make fun of you.
Sprites? I haven't had a Sprite in years.
Sprites are when you're sick. You drink Sprites and eat saltine crackers when you're sick.
It was 7-Up. No, was it 7-Up or was it Sprite? I think it was 7-Up for us when we were sick. I haven't had a 7-Up in probably 10 years. I don't even know if they still make 7-Ups.
Yeah.
Huh.
Did we ever get a title list?
I just read them out loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jizo Pete's was the best one. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's Honey, I Cried on the News, which is also kind of funny.
It's good. It's just long.
Yeah. Jizo Pete's, okay.
And I'm
Ginger ale is for on airplanes. I always get a ginger ale on airplanes, and I don't know why.
I'm upset that there's no art with a guy crying on the news.
Did we get any art?
And we got one from Interrobang where it looks like a sleep paralysis demon that is a tornado is opening the door to some guy's bed and he's crying.
On the news. He's crying because of the climate demon that's coming for him. It's a fun piece. I'm not going to lie. The font on that is fun. It's murderous. I like that one.
You better, because it's all we got.
Interrobang, you win by default. The best victory there could be.
Wait a minute. My mail is loading. We have something incoming. Nope, I think it's just going to say that by default.
Let's see. Usually somebody will chime in and say, NetNed says he's worn out. So, my mail is loading. I didn't hear the guy go, you've got mail.
Ooh, baby, you've got my mail loading.
Is it some sort of UPS fetish you have, or? Let's see. I'm going to check ISOBot. ISOBot.dev.
Love the bars? Don't you love the bucket of food that's brought every day to us? Don't you love this? Why do you keep in the zoo? I'm comfortable being an animal in the zoo. Why aren't you comfortable? Don't you love the bars? Don't you love the this ideal of running free? Why don't you love the zoo? That's all right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's good.
It's so off the wall that it's interesting.
Based on a climate that no longer exists. All of it. All of it.
All of it.
All of it. European clips that I should have played.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, it's not in the
That was not in
folder.
there.
Yep.
No, I guess I'd never clipped it. Very good.
It's not in the
That was not in there. Well, that's unfortunate. It's more talk about Oman. Spoiler. Well, okay, we can move on. This is after the fact. I pulled this Fox Business.
It's buried somewhere.
Of the memorandum of unknown projectiles ministry says
Yeah, well, it's just boilerplate. They haven't confirmed. Okay. I'm sure they'll reach out to News Nation or Fox Business and say, hey, that was us.
Of Hormuz. At least one crew member.
Say, hey, that was us. Just so you know.
That was us. We did that.
Yes, that was us.
Death to America.
Okay.
Damn.
This series of Fox Business clips right before the show. This is the latest. And I'm sure there's a new latest since we've been doing the show, but this is the latest before the show started.
All right, President Trump declaring today that
What is
all
happening?
mines the bottom of the Strait of Hormuz have either been removed or detonated.
ISOBot's acting funny.
I think we've got it with Why Do You Hate the Zoo? This ideal of running free. Why don't you love the zoo?
Right. Let me find it in the recording. Why don't you love the zoo in the morning? So I met this guy on Saturday that was like, oh, you're Dan from MMO? I thought you'd be smaller. That's what he said. What does that mean? Always interesting. I was telling him about how I don't like seeing what podcasters look like because I enjoy that image in my head. And it's like my rule of thumb is like, I don't want to see what podcasters look like. And then I said, ironically, though, I know what every podcaster I've ever listened to looks like because I can't not now.
These media organizations are reporting and will report more frequently in the next couple of years.
Human influence on climate in
also means that in a few months.
It was the flock segment, right? Do something similar to that in Europe.
Yeah. Big hurricane, whatever. Is it fair to say we come back? I don't know.
Sharpton.
You went through every Al except for the right one.
Called world.
To actually trust that it works.
Okay. Very straightforward answer.
A little parry there. I like it.
Yeah. But that's acceptable collateral damage. And Will has to realize this, that the people who I'm talking about safety, who rights in the Constitution is the correct way to go about this.
Yeah.
You appeal to the rights afforded us in the Constitution, and if people want to say that...
No consistency, Your Honor, in the media.
Side effects, be specific.
In the process
we did finish.
And what do you care that somebody's looking over your shoulder? Why does that offend you? Why aren't you comfortable with being surveilled constantly? Why aren't you comfortable being an animal in the zoo? I'm comfortable being an animal in the zoo. Why aren't you comfortable? Don't you love the bars? Don't you love the bucket of food that's brought every day to us? Don't you love this? Why do you keep talking about this ideal of running free? Why don't you love the zoo? Why don't you love the zoo?
I just love the final. Don't you love the zoo? Why don't you love the zoo?
Why don't you love the zoo?
Alrighty.
That should be better.
Yep. Put it on.
Now jump to CBS News foreign correspondent Remy Inocencio. He's in our London bureau.
Oh, this was is interesting.
Public graffiti suggests as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be the common understanding that it's the tiny hat people.
Very endearing purpose.
John, Chris, come on back.
Okay. You got your markers down?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, speaking of Kushner.
I think that's funny. That is going to be a funny edit. It's the tiny hat people.
Very endearing purpose.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, you just got crispy. That is going to be great. John, listen to this edit. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, it seems to be the common understanding that it's the tiny hat people.
Well, speaking of Kushner and the region, did you hear?
Great. And I think that's how you intended it as well.
Yeah. Can we talk off